AC the Galactic Soul, the Honorable Brother, the Revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Welcome to Powerbombshells 162. I'm Mel, that's Sam. We're just two broads talking about the wrestling we're watching. And Sam, I have one very important question for you today.
And what is that?
What did you think of Motor City Machine Guns versus DIY on SmackDown?
And it was a three-way. It was DIY, Motor City, and Street Profits. It was a three-way TLC match. And it was the best match WrestleMania week that was not Io versus Bianca versus Rhea, because that match for me, that match was incredible. That was my favorite match out of the two nights. It is definitely a match of the year contender, but this tag team match also a match of the year contender. It is, both matches are on my list. That match was incredible, and they proved me right. That should have been on WrestleMania. They they showed out. They took it personally that they were left off that card, and if you go and watch the interview that Street Profits cut after the match, Docs even says we got left off that card and basically we shouldn't have been, and we showed them that we shouldn't have been left off that card. So I know they took it personally. And I get it was the 25th anniversary of the famous TLC match between the Hardys and Edge and Christian, and I believe the Dudleys is the one. That's the one that was the 25th anniversary of. You could have done it on WrestleMania, and it still would have counted as the 25th anniversary. It should not have been on a SmackDown. I'm grateful that to the wrestling goddesses that we got it for free, but they should have. No. They proved my point. And tag team wrestling, we've talked about. For a lot of times, promotions don't know how to handle tag team wrestling anymore. It is not a priority for most companies out there today. It seems some indie companies put a little bit more into their tag wrestling, but the major companies do not. It's a problem in WWE, AEW, New Japan. Like this is Ring of Honor. Like this is an issue everywhere where they don't know how to book it properly. But I'm glad that that those six men went out and had the match that they had, because it was incredible. And it was interesting because Joe Tessitore on commentary said that these men are out here proving that, you know, have something to prove. They don't have shit to prove. All they did was prove me right. We know what those six men can do. All they did was prove Sam was right. This should have been on WrestleMania. That's all they proved. Like Motor City has nothing to prove. They have been doing this. They have changed modern tag team wrestling over the last, well, not just tag team wrestling, but modern tag team wrestling in the last 25 years. They are one of the standards, along with the Young Bucks and the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian, but they are like the generation after that.
Yeah, so they're like the veterans of the people that we watch on AEW. The reason that most of those people exist is Motor City Machine Guns.
And then and then DIY are perfect examples of using the template that Motor City has put out there. But then even Street Profits have done some of that too. And all three of them, like, they are three of the best tag teams in all of wrestling, no matter what company you watch. Those three teams are top of the line, and I'm so glad that they had that match, because nobody can say anything. they proved everything, and they left it all out there. They paid homage to the TLC matches that came before them. There was the spot where Tommaso was hanging from, I think it was Tommaso was hanging from the belts, which was the Jeff Hardy spot. They did Street Profits looked at each other and yelled, "Let's get the tables!" Like, so they did their thing to pay homage to the men who came before them, but also put their spin on it, on what these three incredible teams. They showcase, each team did a really great job of showcasing who they are as a tag team and how well they work together. Like, Motor City did a Skull and Bones on a table. Like, it was crazy. And then they used a guy through his prosthetic to Montez. Montez used it in the match and then tossed it back. Like, it was really incredible. And I think SmackDown, I think you can go back on Watch on Demand. If there's a way that you can watch that main event. Anybody who can hear me, please, if you have not seen it, go out of your way and go back and watch it, because when we are counting down, when we are looking back at the end of the year at matches of the year, that will be a match that's going to come back up, I think, or it should. At least I will be bringing it up.
It's funny that you said that about the Rhea Ripley three-way, because that literally was the best match on the entire WrestleMania weekend. I would say that the most passable, as in like whole wrestling match with the story, that was the best one out of any of them.
Yeah,
I mean,
agreed.
Yeah, I love that match. I gave a very objective, not slagging on WWE opinion. And thank you for Keela Cash, for having. I filled in for Scott on the wrap last week after the last WrestleMania, and I have a quick update here. We didn't get to it, but I wanted to let the people know that Sam's total hours and minutes for the last for WrestleMania this year, 24 hours and 19 minutes. And I don't have
did that include? Was that just with WrestleMania, or did that include the clusterfuck? Because I did go back and watch the.
I didn't include the cluster.
Clusterfuck is
not included. So
the clusterfuck,
and I don't have the match total in front.
I'll have to get. It was two. Clusterfuck was two match. I think it was just 2 matches, but it was 3.5 hours. The first match was the scramble match inside of a cage, and then the rest of the show was the clusterfuck, and Brad was right. It was, most of that match was a mess until they got towards the end. The end stuff was incredible. I did really appreciate the Invisible Man portion of the show. That was a lot of fun because you get to see how creative people are at wrestling an invisible person. So that was really cool. So I appreciate that. I still have the 3 singles match I got to go back and watch. I still have to go back and watch Suzuki versus Yoshihiko, Mance versus Kenta, and what was the third one? There's one more. So there's 3 singles matches I still have to get to. But we did get to the clusterfuck because I knew who won, and they were starting, because it had been several days, it was getting harder and harder. I saw GCW post a clip before we started the show, and I was like, Nikki, be careful on Twitter, because GCW posted who won. And so we watched, and she was like, I had a feeling that that's who won. And she was like, but it was really cool to watch it play out, because I didn't watch any of the clips. I wanted to watch it play out as I was watching the show. But it was really cool what they did with that. I don't know if I should spoil it for the people. I mean, it has been a week, but
it has been a week. I can throw up the graphic if you want.
Yeah, we'll throw up the graphic just a quick second.
If
you don't want to know who won,
Brad's favorite graphic. This is for the clusterfuck on the GCW Culture Show that stars about 1 million wrestlers and is exactly as advertised.
Joey Janela getting people paid. It was a mess. There was a lot of people. Some of it was just, there was quite a few wrestlers I've never heard of, but I appreciate Joey getting people paid. So what they did towards the end of the match, Chris Bay came out and he presented Brody Lee Jr. And they put up, so Brody Lee got a graphic. It said Brody Lee Jr. It had like Luke Harper's name on it. It was really cool, little special moment. And then so Chris leaves and Brody gets to the ring, and it was Brody, Joey Janela, Megan Bain, and I think it was Man Like Doris is who it came down to. And then it ended up that Brody eliminated, I think Doris got eliminated, and then I think Brody eliminated Megan, and it came down to Megan. I mean, it came down to Brody Jr. and Joey, and Brody Jr. won the clusterfuck. And then the story that went with it was even more fun. Like so it was really cool. You can see, like, if you don't follow Amanda Huber on Instagram, she often posts in her stories, she retweets or she reposts Natty, because every week Brody Jr. is down in the dungeon training. And he is like, they really seem to love him. He's very natural at it from what the comments that I see. So he has been training for several months. And so apparently Brody ran into Man Like Doris and was like, oh, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I'm going to wrestle, in the clusterfuck later on. And he was like, and they joked about Brody being in it. And then Man Like Doris messaged Joey, and Joey messaged Amanda and asked if she could get Brody there. And he immediately, like, as soon as they found out Brody was going to be there, he said, he's going to win. Let's have Brody win this. so and that's how it happened. And they said he was like, because he and I think man like Doris has trained down at the dungeon as well. So he and Brody already have a connection. And then he met Chris Bay, and they have, like, Amanda says that they have like an immediate bond, and they just they got along like right away. They've become fast friends. And so to have Chris, walk him out there, obviously having Chris walk at all is a huge thing.
Yeah,
and
that's amazing. I'm so
have
happy.
him walk Brody Jr. to the ring was like just a really cool moment. And those are the things that, like, we love professional wrestling for, because I think a lot of us who are AEW, well, even WWE fans, I think a lot of us who are AEW fans and loved Brody Lee and saw, how that, and so I think have kind of adopted those kids.
Agree.
Like, we want the best for those kids.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and I think it for a lot of us, like, so to watch Brody progression into, when he was on the memorial show wearing the -1 mask and honoring his father, to see him actually being able to compete in a match at 12 years old. Like, he's only 12. Like, so that was just and then, like, Nolan, I know that he's like, they bring him sometimes, and he is like, and like, they seem to really love him too. And so it's always nice to see, like, how much wrestling, no matter what promotion you're in, that a lot of them have embraced, these kids, which is really great to see. And then of course Chris Bay, is incredible. Like, anyway, I was a fan of Chris Bay for a long time, and then to see him
back,
being able to walk and do the things that he was doing. And I saw him tweet on, I think it was Monday, he was like, this is the most I've walked, this weekend was the most I've walked. And he said, and my legs are on fire, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And so
great.
Yeah, so it was just a really cool moment overall, and it's just one of the things that, and I appreciate, and I think Nikki and I were talking about it the other night because Joey Janela was in AEW at the time of Brody's passing, and I think that, like, so I feel like, that, so he probably also has a connection to Brody Jr. and to Amanda and to Nolan, and so I felt like that, that was because Joey gets a lot of shit. And, for Joey, it tends to be a person that either you love him or you hate him. But even if you do hate him, he does have these things where he can do these really cool things. And, he didn't have to give Brody that moment. He didn't even have to put him in the match at all. And he did. And then he put him over and let him win. His first match, that was his first match ever. Like, so that was
pro wrestling,
and Joey was the one who, Joey was the one in the ring with him. I mean, yes, Megan was there for a little bit too, but it ended up coming down to him and Joey knew how to protect him and let him do what obviously he's limited. He's 12.
Yes.
But Joey knew how to work with it and make it work and give Brody that moment and make Brody feel like he was included, in as a wrestler, and not just like, some wrestler's kid. He treated him like a wrestler, which I thought was a really cool thing. And so I'm just really happy that he got that moment.
Yeah, when I saw that I at least saw the video of him coming out, and I was like, this is great. It's so wholesome. As someone who lost a parent young, to know that there are people around him and them that are going to share his dad's legacy with them. Their dad's legacy with them. Right. And that's a really important thing. And
sure,
they're going to be very lucky. And like you said, even the wrestling community has kind of adopted them because of that, because we all felt it and we feel for them and we have empathy. So it's just amazing for me. Even I have a personal connection to see a kid like have a lot of, like, having that level of support system is amazing, because not every kid gets that, and that's really, really cool.
And then, like, the next day,
wrestling more,
right? And then the next day, of course, so for Cody, before his big match, he shows the arrival, and there's this van pulls up, and just like loads and loads of people get off, and it's mostly it's Cody's family, like various members of Cody's family. Then you get towards the end, and Nolan gets off, then Brody Jr., then Amanda, and then Chris Bay and I wasn't expecting Chris. Like, I kind of figured that Amanda and the kids would be there, because Cody was such a, and for those of you who may not remember, Cody, when Brody was in the hospital, Cody and Big E were the two wrestlers that were there for the kids a lot, and have have since been in their lives. And so I kind of expected them to be there, but I wasn't expecting Chris to get off the bus, and his girlfriend was there too. And it was just really cool. And then it just like, I know a lot of people say a lot about Cody too, but I was like, when Cody gets it. Cody is somebody that he is very loyal. I think that when you get to people that, you know, that you love, it's like Cody will definitely do what he can for people, I think, in a lot of ways. And so it was just a really cool to see like that whole weekend, knowing that Brody and Nolan and Amanda and Chris Bay were all just treated with so much love. And it was really, those are some of the positive, but sometimes it's hard not to go into the negative with wrestling, but to have those moments is a reminder of like, wrestling can be a really cool thing sometimes.
Yes. So agree. I mean, it was really awesome.
Yeah.
Kind of wrapped up the weekend nicely. And
yeah.
There were a lot of really good shows. Mania was mid. I mean, just the whole thing was pretty. It was.
I think night 2 was better than night 1, but I only watched parts of night 2, so because I had my aunt was here until like 8 something, so I didn't get to watch. Like I had to cut in live, and I had just missed Randy Orton versus Joe Hendry, and then I saw that Logan Paul, and then I thought Logan Paul, and I backed out and was like, somebody tell me when it's over. But then the other people who were watching in a Slack that I'm in, we all cut it off. And so we were like, and I was like, well, how are we going to know when the match is over? Because none of us are watching Logan Paul. Like
that was why our Discord
watching AJ Styles. And so my friend was following. He was like, okay, well, based on some things on Blue Sky, the match is still going on.
That's why our Discord threads for shows are so useful.
Yeah.
And again, when I have to watch those shows, I like having people to watch it with, because
there were like, oh, for sure. Yeah. There were like 4 of us, and we all were like, no, we're not watching this. We'll come back in 15 minutes and see what's going on. And that's what we all did. And so then we all turned it on, like but it was funny because we all were just like, no, we're not. Sorry, AJ Styles. We're not watching Logan Paul.
It's really.
And then that main event
be
was
happy
trash,
if I had paid for that weekend. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Man, that last match was awful.
Whoa. Hey, how about this? I got a friend to watch it because they heard it was so bad, but from so many people that they just absolutely. He's like, I kind of have to watch it in a sort of train wreck sort of way. And I was like, you probably should because you have such a history. But I mean, I can't endorse it for watching consumption. Like, I'm not saying like go watch this great match. I'm saying, but if you want to see
and then also
prototypical WWE crap booking goes out on a down note moment. Like, I mean, it ended with WrestleMania weekend ended with a flop.
And then it just reinforced the fact that Io, Rhea, and Bianca should have main evented one of the nights.
That was the best match
Instead
of the weekend.
Opening night 2, it should have main evented one of those nights.
I mean, I didn't see the Stand and Deliver show or anything, so
I haven't seen Stand and Deliver either, but I have heard nothing but positive things.
But out of the WWE, everything that went on in all of those like 2,000 hours or whatever we watched for WrestleMania, the only wrestling match that was passable and decent was that match. It had story, it had movement, it had pacing. I'm like, finally, there's a match on this card. Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. I'm so glad there was so much other stuff around. Like, I have my subscription to like the middle of the month, so I'll be able to pick up a bunch of the little matches I want to, because I want to catch a bunch of like, I want to go watch all the ZSJ's matches, and I want to.
I watched all of the ZSJ matches.
The Suzuki matches, and then I had a bunch of TJPW matches. And
that was the other one. It was Takeshita and Mao was the other match.
That's it. That's
on the same show. That's on the same show as Suzuki and Yoshihiko.
I think that's TJPW times DDT.
No, I think that's the DDT. What was the name of it? I think it's the DDT show.
Just
I think
the DDT show. That's right. They have separate shows of their own.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, because they do just the DDT show and just the TJPW, and then it's DDT x TJPW x GCW that they do as well. So they're, but I believe the Suzuki Yoshihiko match and Takeshita match, I think that's on just the DDT show, I believe. And then also, I finally had a chance to go back and watch the clip of Keela and Salty Scott talking about The Rock on Pat McAfee.
Oh, I need to go listen to that.
Please go take a few minutes out of your time to listen to it, because Keela was not having it. Keela is our girl. She cut
the greatest promo on Sunday night on The Rock.
I need to watch that one too. She had plenty more for The Rock.
I imagine she did, especially after Raw.
The Pat McAfee interview. She had a lot to say. And Raw, and she made some really good points about
she cut the best promo ever. She took it apart. I was like, I didn't realize that he had that. I didn't even know that was a story, because obviously I don't watch as regularly as you guys. Yeah. And the fact that when she said it, I went like a light bulb, because that's where I started. So I know the product.
Right.
I even took, like 2 years ago, I watched for months again. Like, I know their formula. I know what's going on. When she said that, I was like, light bulb. What the just. And then she proceeded to cut one of the most excellent beginning of she was ahead of the entire week.
I've got promo. I need to take take time to watch that, but I did see that clip of her, and I was like, "Oh, let me see what her and Scott had to say." And Scott had some things to say, but obviously, it was just Keela just went in. But Scott, there's some things that Scott said that only Scott can say, and it made me laugh. Like, I was putting on makeup, and I was just like, I had to stop because I was laughing at what he said. I was like, "Oh my God!" I was like, I mean, he's not wrong, but.
Jim Valley did that to me yesterday. I almost fell down in the middle of my hallway, because he was just taking down all of that stuff too. I mean, with the stuff he said about it made me fall over. And what got me and the reason I asked you about the DIY thing was specifically because even he on his show yesterday was like, and that should have been on Mania. And I was just like, there's like an echo in here or something. I feel like someone is telling me these things.
Yeah, it was funny because I saw a lot of people online saying the same thing. And
it was pretty universal in the wrestling community, social media, that should have been on WrestleMania. And considering how big of a flop WrestleMania was, the fact that wasn't on there makes it even more punctuated.
Yes. Oh, 100%. And I say this with love, because I am a New Day fan since early, when everybody else hated them, and I've watched the Viking Raiders since ROH and New Japan.
And Bailey, of course.
Both of those matches, like, I love those teams, but that match that they delivered was not a WrestleMania match. That was a Raw match, and I'm glad for New Day for winning the titles, but the match was just a match, and that just further proved my point that, you know, those six men should have been on that card. And then Friday night they went out there and showed everybody what that match was. And again, I don't say that against, you know, because I love New Day and I'm a fan of the Viking Raiders, but that match did not deserve to be on WrestleMania. And then they delivered just a regular old match, and it was really unfortunate. And then you have Bailey getting screwed out of a spot. Apparently that was the plan for a while. They don't know when Bailey was told that though. And so it's just, and then what made it even worse was Becky and Lyra defended those titles on Monday night and lost them.
I heard. When I heard that,
Becky
I was
turned on Lyra, which we all knew was happening. We knew Becky was going to turn on Lyra because she wants that title. We all knew it was happening. But the fact that they made them win those titles and they were champions for 24 hours.
I saw that because I saw people like, this is what, when I saw you guys tweeting, this is what Bailey got bumped off Mania for, I went and explored just a little further and went, oh, what? But then part of me was like, that tracks.
Oh yeah, I had a lot to say about it. That was my because that was my hated.
Oh, was that
for-
one
for,
you're
for
that
Raw?
was that's
For
right.
Raw,
It was-
that was my hated was that they've made again the women's tag titles are nothing but a prop.
right.
They don't care about those.
Yep.
They've never cared about them,
Nope.
but they use it as a prop. And we all knew that Bayley. I mean, that I don't know why, because originally the rumor had been for months was that Becky was gonna face Lyra at WrestleMania for the IC title, and I don't know why they just didn't do that to begin with instead of setting it up the way that they have. And it's just and screwing Bayley in the process and cheapening the tag titles even more than they already have been. And it's just so they can barely book men's tag team wrestling, and they can't book women's tag team wrestling at all. They struggle with all their mid-card titles. So this is it. I think WrestleMania and WrestleMania season just spotlighted that even more. I mean, other than Jacob Fatu winning the title on Sunday,
That was the other one that
was really good. And then I like Friday
match.
The Friday was fun because there's always been this tension between Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa, because Jacob Fatu is clearly the better of the two. He should be in Solo's spot, and it's eventually going to happen. But then Solo on Friday was trying to take credit for Jacob, and Jacob was like, he was not having it. He was like, I did this. I told you I was going to win this. I was the one in the match. Like, he was just not having it. So I appreciated that. And then of course they immediately bring out LA Knight, and I'm so tired of LA Knight and that belt. But Drew McIntyre was there. So there are some good things, but yeah, it just overall that WrestleMania was just not great. It was very meh, and it didn't feel like, and that's what, like, a lot of even people that watch WWE regularly enjoy WWE was like, this doesn't even feel like WrestleMania.
It didn't really feel like a WrestleMania.
It feels like just a random PLE, other than like a couple matches here and there. It feels like nobody cares about it. They're not putting the effort into it. Then you have Paul Levesque coming out there and getting his full entrance for the Hall of Fame.
They were like,
for a man who hates being on TV and hates being the center of attention,
he overshadowed the weekend way too much.
They just force him on TV after giving him, an hour at the Hall of Fame, and people were falling asleep.
I feel like Triple H and The Rock overshadowed the weekend too hard, and that is not.
So did Paul.
I don't know. This is why I choose not to partake of the WWE product. That's just my choice. Like what you like. I feel bad for people who are like loyal and want to see their product be better. Just like I feel bad.
I mean, all companies should want to be better. Like that's they all.
But I mean, they were cheering at the end, I guess. So that's what they wanted. And I mean, at least
now John Cena. So this John Cena Hill run is awful. I hate it. I wanted it
20
to
years
be.
Too late and really
I wanted this feud to be. I wanted this run to be so much better than it is, and like the Monday was great in the fact that we got a true RKO out of nowhere. Like the way it was done was perfect, but then the follow up on Friday was shit. John Cena can't cut a heel promo to save his life. He uses weaponized therapy speak. It's awful, and then. They are each other's biggest feud. They've had 25 years of this. And I was like, this is the promos you're going to cut on each other? At least, like, Randy got him a few times, but then he kind of went off track a little bit and some things that didn't really make sense. But then he brought it back around. But just like, and then they made the match official. They're wrestling each other at Backlash in St. Louis, which is Randy Orton's hometown. And I do think Randy Orton's at 14 titles. I don't think he surpasses John Cena's 17 probably, but I do think they're going to get him to at least 15. It would make sense to do it then because John Cena, he had Monday night, he had his little clock up, 27 appearances left. And that's appearances, he made clear that's appearances, not matches. He's like, I can just come and do this, and there's nothing you can do about it, and I have your title. I would just go ahead and put the title on Randy Orton. I don't necessarily want to see Randy Orton as the world champion in 2025, but it's going to be better than whatever they're doing with John Cena. But I do think John Cena retires as the babyface. They'll flip him at some point. I just don't know. But also, The Rock's got to. The Rock and Triple H have to stand on what they've done. If you listen to what The Rock, if you believe what The Rock says, he wanted the heel turn to be Cody, and Cody said, "I don't want to, not yet." So they're like, Triple H is like, or Paul's like, "What about What about John Cena?" And John Cena apparently didn't really want to do it either, but they made him. And now it's been shit. And now the fans are cheering heel John Cena.
Well, of course they are, because they've drunk the Kool-Aid already. I
think some of it too is they wanted John Cena to surpass Ric Flair's made-up record of 17. And actually,
they don't want to admit that their
Ric
product
Flair won the title
coming apart
many more times than the 17 or the 16 that was official. He's actually won the title at least, from what I was reading the other day, at least 21 times, if not more than that, because he would lose the title on a Friday night and turn around and win it back on Saturday down in Puerto Rico. So he's technically been champion more times than the 16. Yeah. But I think a lot of people wanted Cena to break that record so that Ric Flair would no longer have it. And so they cheered him for it, which, I get. And I would rather John Cena have that record myself.
Well, I think that WWE is certainly trying to erase certain people off of their
or they're trying
history.
to kind of because they don't want to keep
trying to retcon their history. They don't want Ric Flair because he's no good for business. They don't want Hogan because he's getting booed at events. They don't so they need to fix their storylines now to fit with their current narrative. Just like a politician would. It's ridiculous. It's a little frankly, it's a little insulting. If as a wrestling fan, I don't want this to represent what wrestling fans are. This is not. There's so much more out there, and I feel like, as a wrestling fan, I felt a little like I took it a little personally. I was like, "F you and your stupid boring booking," and even I caught a little bit of because I didn't sit and watch any of that pre-show business because I knew there was going to be plenty of that in the actual event. No, but I did catch tiny bits of it right at the beginning. And at one point, Stephanie was putting over Paul Levesque, he made this whole thing possible and all these things. I'm like, guys, reality exists. It's a thing.
But see, that's the thing. If you go back and they've always done this. If you watch WWE documentaries, their own, the ones they put out, they write the history however they want to write it.
They're the victims. Done that. They built the thing up from nothing. They had no money.
Well, even they can, with feuds and talent, they can make things up and have their version of what happens. But then you have people like Dave Meltzer who has recorded what actually happened. You can go back and you can see actual history versus WWE's version of the history. Because just like in most things, like in war, the winners get to choose the narrative they tell. So WWE always chooses the narrative that they're going to tell that they sell, which is where a lot of this tribalism comes from. Because they have been spoon-fed all of these things for years, and I was one of those people until I realized, hey, wait a minute. There's other wrestling out there that I can enjoy that do things differently. And then I started realizing more and more what I liked and what I didn't like. And a lot of that is not what, a lot of that is currently, I don't like a lot of what WWE does. I'm really turned off from the product. Most of I only cover it because I have to. Otherwise, I would not watch it, especially after the last week of things really turned me off even more from the product. But that was somebody, and I come from somebody who loved that company and did not miss shows. Every single week, even
that's what I started with.
Even pre-DVR, that's what we did Monday nights. We were right there in front of Friday nights too, or even Thursdays when they were, SmackDown was on Thursdays for a while. So I am someone who's watched for a really long time, and I did stop completely watching for a period, and then I came back because I get paid to watch it, and that's because we live in late stage capitalism, and I have bills to pay, and so I make the
That
most
sucks
of
too
it.
because it had a renaissance like from 16 to 19 basically, which was awesome, or 15 or 14 even. You could go back because like there was the Tyler Bate, Pete Dunne, and even 2012 or 13 I think in Chicago. Those were like, I was subscribed to the WWE network for a
Me too.
good chunk of time because I wanted
too.
to watch NXT and I wanted to watch 205 Live and
yeah, and I loved, and like for a while, like NXT was
so
and it made me go back when somebody said, when people keep saying Stand and Deliver it was better than WrestleMania. There was a period of time during the Black and Gold era where takeovers were regularly
way
better than thing the main roster put out. It was way better, miles better. And there was a period of time when 205 Live was the best thing that WWE was putting out. And it, like, on the one hand, it was like, damn, I wish WWE gave them more. But on the other hand, because they forgot about them, they just did whatever the hell they wanted and put on banger matches every single week and had great storylines with, you know, Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali and Buddy Murphy and Arya Daivari and just like all these incredible matches.
You know, out of all the people in that three-way, in that Motor City match, the only person I haven't seen live is Johnny Gargano.
I've seen all of them live.
Yep. I haven't seen Johnny Gargano. That's the only one. I was like thinking about the match because I like literally like we just saw Motor City even last week. They always show up at things. So
right. Tommaso wrestled in PWX. He had a 3-match series with Anthony Henry. And one of them comes from it's the so-called lost episode of PWX. The tape, something happened when they were filming. The tape it was messed up. And so basically the only people who were there that night saw it because they were never able to salvage it. And it's called the Lost PWX show. And that was one of the matches was Anthony Henry versus Tommaso Ciampa. I think it was the second of the 3, if I remember right, because I believe the other 2 are on PWX's YouTube. And that's when I knew who Tommaso was. He was still in the Indies then. I became an instant fan after that 3-match series with Anthony Henry. It was incredible. And then that's when I also knew Anthony Henry can hang with anybody when I saw that series. And I can't remember. I think we did see Johnny in PWX, but I saw him with Evolve and I saw him in NXT, and then I saw
I just missed him when I started Evolve. So he was the only one.
I saw Street Profits in Evolve and
Me too.
And then they went to NXT, and I saw them in NXT a couple of times, and then saw Motor City in ROH and TNA.
Now people see, because I got that picture of Ciampa with Bob, and they both had the beards and the whole thing, and they were like roughly
used to. I forgot.
And now it's like he doesn't
Friday,
have that, and I'm like, is Bob gonna get mistaken for Ciampa more now?
Yeah, when they showed at the beginning of the show Friday, they were showing each team, and I had forgot. I was like, I forgot Tommaso shaved his beard. I was like, he looks so different.
He's like completely just without hair.
I can't remember the last time that Tommaso didn't have facial hair, because I went back and found my picture with him from 2015, I think was what it was, and he had it was nowhere near the beard that he used to have, and it was brown. But he had a little bit, he had a beard, and he had like a small like mohawk strip. Then, but I can't remember the last time he didn't.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like when Suzuki shaves his head or does all like the weird stuff that he does. It's just you have that reaction like when you're a little kid and your dad like shaves his mustache off for the first time or whatever.
Right.
And you're just like, ah! If your dad had a mustache.
I mean my dad at least had very good reason. He had, if you haven't seen the picture, I will warn you, it is kind of gross. But he fell coming out of leaving the Hall of Fame. He busted.
Oh, that's right. He had to. It wasn't like he wanted to. He had a
nasty gash, and you could see it through the beard. But to get to
you have to shave the show.
Yeah, to get to it, to clean it up and like sew it up and treat it, he had to shave his entire beard. I definitely expect him to grow it back, but it's very jarring when you've seen. Yeah, it's just
the wife of a bearded man. I've noticed that when they trim them, it's very much like our hair is when they do trim them up occasionally. They do grow back healthier,
right?
So and quicker. Right. So for hopefully, if he wants it, once he's healed up, I think that. Yeah. And I mean, with any luck, like the beard will cover the scar, and he won't have to because usually like hair won't grow in those places, but the rest of the hair will cover it up, so it works out good.
And the way his beard, how thick it is, I'm sure he'll be able to cover it, but
it actually is weird how that works, because even me, because I've had my head shaved obviously, and did it like as a younger person because I was supporting a friend, but it comes back. It does come back thicker. If it comes back at all, it comes back like it's the thickest it's ever been, which I mean, I have really thin hair, so the hats work for me. That's why I like having, it's like, it's why I'm glad I have a good hat head, because otherwise I'd be trying to do something with a lot of nothing, and it's just like except when it gets humid here, and then it looks like I'm like 1980s hair girl.
Oh, believe me, I understand.
I know. Yeah, I figured that you and Nikki.
I am very, very much aware of.
Your hair looks like it gets very unruly when
it
gets.
If
humid.
you have, I always joke the episode of Friends where they go to the Bahamas for Ross's speech. Monica's hair is just big mess of curl. That's how I feel when
that was my best friend in high school. Her hair, it got like a touch of humidity, and her hair like doubled or tripled in size.
That's why I have to keep my hair long, because it will mushroom out, and I have to keep it long, and I have to keep long layers in it, because otherwise
you get like super anime puffy like hair.
Oh yeah, it's insane. It looks like a lion's mane. It very much looks like Monica.
It's so cute.
It very much looks like Monica.
I recognize. Different color.
I've also found some good hair products that help with the humidity as well.
They're finally making actual products for like actual things that we actually need them for, instead of like me borrowing my husband's stuff or him borrowing my stuff. Like it's funnier though, because with the beard, he has like an iron for like, I got him a hot iron for it because I read that those were useful for him, and I try to shop local. Like this year, he was out of beard products, so I got to the Detroit Beard Company, who. He did a contest years back, and he won some of their product, and we had a bunch of it. And I was like, oh, that's what I'm going to get him for Christmas, because they make these cute little chests that are very reasonable, and it's all made out of stuff you want.
Right.
So you can go in there and choose each individual, and they explain like what's in them and how they smell. And you're like, oh, okay. So I can choose these, like, they're a little color coded. It's kind of brilliant.
That's very cool.
They're really smooth. It's really fun. And that stuff's really nice. So, but it's hilarious because I don't think I have like the same bed head, like the little grape bed head that I've had forever, because that's all I need. I don't need a lot. That's what I usually do is pixie. But it still puffs here. I'm not used to that as a Northeasterner, but now that I've moved to the Midwest, it's like, why is the air heavy, and why is my hair weigh 100 pounds?
Right. Oh my God, my hair is thick anyway. So it's a lot when it's humid too, and I often wear it, like, especially because I work from home. So a lot of times I have my hair pulled back in a clip because it just gets to be too much, and I need it cut on top of that, so it's even heavier because it's been I just haven't. I've had other things to deal with other than a haircut. So
it's like I want to really, and I'm getting to the point now where I'm like, I'm going to wait for I have a gal that I go to, and she's further away. I'm just going to, because it's got long-ish for me. I mean, mine's long for me. And I know it's getting heavy there. I'm like, I'll bring it to her. And because when she has a lot to work with, she can do what she wants.
Right.
And because she's a really smart, like, young, creative girl, I just trust her with my hair.
Totally get
she
that.
Understands all of the ins and outs of my hair's little quirks. I have a lot of little. I'm one of those cowlick girls. I have little fans of hairs, like all.
I understand. Yeah, like, I have the widow's peak in the front, so yeah I understand.
You're like,
I understand. Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
You're like, and in the 80s, it was cool, but we weren't really old enough to enjoy it. So
no. Fair. That's fair. This has been Hair Corner with Mel and Sam. We have seen your comments. We've not been ignoring them.
We have seen welcome, everyone. I meant to say welcome.
Appreciate you talking amongst yourselves and stuff like that. We're not ignoring you. We can see some of your comments. Just the conversation was flowing, but we do appreciate that and appreciate you in the comments. And also, I'll have to tell you, I don't know if I should read some of these comments first or tell you the story.
It's up to you.
Story that happened yesterday.
Oh, tell me the story. You can read some comments. We can say hi to people.
I will tell the story though. So yes, I will just pull up some random ones. This is some of this is going back to the triple threat from Friday night. Should have been on WrestleMania, and the middle finger to the bookers for not booking it. Yes. Fraxium, it was probably going to come up soon. Fraxium did have a match against Los Garza on Friday night I think it was the first match of the show. Fraxium they are currently the NXT Tag Team Champions. If you do not watch them, you probably know them from who they were prior. Nathan Frazier is the former Ben Carter who wrestled on the Indies. He did wrestle in the AEW twice, and then NXT turned around and signed him within weeks. He had a really on Dark. That's how long ago this was. This was when Dark was still a thing. He and Scorpio Sky had a banger on Dark, and then he signed with WWE like weeks later. But he did wrestle for them twice, and then the I don't want to say why did I just blank on what his name is? I always want to call him A-Kid because that's who he was on the Indies, and I always just revert, and I'm like, why? That's not his WWE name, but I always want to call him A-Kid. But if you saw, A-Kid was on, I think he was in, I know he was doing Indies. He was in TNA for a stint. He was all over the place for a while. They're really great tag team. They work really well together, and so they're called Axiom. Duh, because that's how they got the name for Axiom. They combined Frazier and Axiom. Good Lord. It is Axiom. I always want to call him A-Kid because that's what I know him as. And so I'm like, no.
Your brain is like preconditioned. It's like, no.
It is. Well, and that's the thing. Like I'm getting better at calling him Javon Evans, but it's very hard for me to not call him Jay Malachi. That is even harder for me to call Lucky Ali Saquon Sugars. And I have the hardest, especially because he was off TV for a bit because he had surgery, and he's only recently been back on TV for the last few months, and it is hard, and I still call him Lucky, especially because he wrestled. I mean, Jay Malachi did wrestle for PWX often, but Lucky wrestled for them more, and then like I interacted with Lucky at shows and things like that, and so I always want to call him Lucky, and it's hard for me to be like, no, that's Saquon Sugars, because some people are like, who's Lucky Ali, and I'm like, sorry.
I love when I listen to, like, if I'm listening to podcasts and people are mentioning WWE people over and over, I'm like, who is this? And I'll go look it up, and it'll inevitably be somebody. I'm like, oh, it's this person. Oh, right. It's this wrestler. I'm like, that's what they're calling them?
Yeah.
Like, good Lord, WWE. That's one of my favorite gimmicks, is to, like, sit around and come up with new names for people as they become WWE superstars.
Yes.
Yeah. Agreed.
I make beats says the triple threat was off the chain, and the main event, the triple threat of Stand and Deliver, was so good. I keep hearing the whole show, but yes, people keep pointing back to that main event. And that main event was Javon Evans versus Trick Williams versus Obafemi for the North American title. And I keep hearing how great that was. And I heard, I guess people like, I saw that was like, I've heard that it was, which is another reason I want to go back and see it. It was, a star-making performance, apparently, for Javon Evans. I think was Keela, who I saw her tweet that he is a future North American champion. Like, she was like, mark it down right now. That kid's going to be a champion, which he's incredible. I've talked about him for the last few years. I hope that it seems like WWE kind of knows what they have with him, or at least Shawn Michaels does, and they seem to be like putting him in really good spots, and I hope that's the case. And then I hope the Dark State thing is interesting because it is kind of like Retribution or Retribution Shield, as Kilo refers to them. I'm hoping this will eventually make that they will kind of break out and be their own thing, because I would like to see Saquon, the former Lucky Ali, get some love, because he's a very good wrestler, and I think hopefully they'll let him go and we'll get to see more of him.
Thank you, Maria.
Yes, it was beautiful to see Chris Bay.
It sure was. I'm glad to see that guy. That's crazy.
And then he did. I know he was at the TNA had a pay-per-view in Vegas, and he walked out there and got to talk to them. I know that they filmed something with the Hardys, because the Hardys were in the ring with him when he was injured So I'm interested to see what that's going to be. So that'll be, I really appreciate, I'm glad that, TNA is doing a lot to stand behind him, which is great. Curryhead says, I hate to say this, but you're right about both triple threat matches were the best matches on WrestleMania, and a triple threat tag match on SmackDown was the best match of the week. I have no problem with the women's tag match on Mania, but that's a match that should have been on Raw and a triple threat TLC. Yeah, I mean, especially because it was the way they set it up was a gauntlet match to get to it. It just, if the way the booking was going, that would have been a SmackDown, a Mania SmackDown match, which was just, and again, and especially because the way it turned out, they dropped the titles 24 hours later.
That's so dumb. It's just
Curry had asked, do you think this is the down in the Triple H era?
I'm
go ahead.
Curious about this. I've actually been asking myself the same question. The Bloodline storyline is clearly wrapping up here. They're doing whatever they're doing with Cena. Whether or not Dwayne Johnson is or is not involved remains to be seen. The fans clearly were happy about some things, but I mean, that was not a great crowd the whole weekend either. So
they didn't even sell out WrestleMania until the days before. I mean, part of it is, yes, their ticket prices were astronomical, but they did not sell it out until like Thursday.
I would not. I don't know if they'll continue to do this because they might be that greedy, but I think it would be smart for them to go back to one night and try and fill bigger arenas and try and focus.
But they're not going to.
I don't think they will because of their weird numbers that they do. Because even
money and the sponsorships, because now they've made it. They were having sponsors in between matches, and because of all of that, they're never gonna. I don't think they will ever go back to one night. I don't.
But I just don't know if. We'll see. I mean, it's not looking great. If I were to and again, I don't watch a ton, so I can't overly exude on it. But it doesn't look great right now. Like it looks questionable.
I would say, based on what I've been watching in the last, because I started watching in January of last year was when I started watching again for Wrestling Inc. I would say that yes, it probably is starting to go into a down era just because of some of the way the booking of a majority of the show, the matches that are being delivered. Now you have this whole mess with Paul and Dwayne, and then also you have TKO wanting WWE to appeal to the UFC fan base, and so I feel like it's going to quickly go downhill. With like it already feels that way because there were chunks of time like last year where they were doing some really great stuff, and I really enjoyed most of the product that I was watching. But it has been as of the build to Mania was terrible for 99% of the matches, and I feel like yes, that is a fair question to ask, and I think that that is something. That it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out. Going from WrestleMania to WrestleMania and what happens in the next year, because the next big pay-per-view is obviously SummerSlam, so we have till August for that, and tickets go on sale next Friday because they keep showing the Cardi B is hosting both nights of SummerSlam this year, so that's their big thing that they're promoting now.
Big draw, yeah.
The big thing is SummerSlam, and so it'll be it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. And then, we do have. So thank you again for all the comments. We're not purposely ignoring them, but we have. I guess I'll let you take over here, Mel.
Well, we have a special guest run in today for all of your enjoyment. We today are joined by our friend from City Championship Wrestling here in my area, which is Mr. Thee Spyder himself, joining the Powerbombshells right now. Welcome, sir. How are you?
That's not even the question. The question is, how are you doing, Sam? How are you doing, Mel? You are blessed once again to have Thee Spyder on your program, the most incredible, the most inspirational, and the most charismatic professional wrestler in the history of the business, and that's undisputable.
Yeah. That is, I guess, now that you are here, things have definitely taken a turn for the better. So we are glad to have you back on the show once again. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to grace us with your presence.
Oh, it's always a grace when the Spyder comes on your program or visits your show or is even just walking through the mall. Everybody just loves the Spyder, and that's just the way it goes.
And we are sharing that with our loyal viewers. We wanted to spread that to them as well, so that they can also enjoy that as well.
Now I hear there's things going on with CCW coming up here in the weeks to come. Is that something that I hear? There's big things on the horizon for the City Championship Wrestling. Do you have any upcoming feuds going on?
Well, the Spyder can't really exactly say what he has coming in store for everybody because it's still kind of up in the air. The Spyder has done some negotiating with CCW to stay with the company. And also the Spyder is all over the place. There's different companies. The Spyder actually May 11th will be at For Us Wrestling. Once again, not sure what's on schedule for that card, but the Spyder will be there. And if the Spyder is there, you're going to have a good time.
Excellent. And so that will be like, I don't know if it's a surprise or not. Are you venturing out to the New Baltimore sports facility this week and in the CCW premiere in their new space, or
the Spyder will be there?
TBD?
The Spyder will be there, and he will be doing something. Just not sure what it is, because here's the thing with the Spyder, you can book the Spyder, but when the Spyder gets there, you don't know what to do with the Spyder because you could do anything with the Spyder. Doesn't matter what it is. You want the Spyder to go out there and put on a great match? The Spyder's always going to do that. You want the Spyder to go out there and put out a promo that's going to make everybody talk? The Spyder going to do that too. That's just the way the Spyder does it.
And you've been filmmaking, if I remember correctly. Is that true?
Actually, as we speak, as you're speaking to the Spyder right now, he's with his good buddy, Jamie Eternal, and about to go and do another film remake. And that one, I can't really tell you. Can't tell you everything about it, but it's gonna be as good, if not better, than the last one.
And you have a channel that stuff is on that people can go check out. And I think it was Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was the one that
yes,
the most recent. You did a reenactment of Planes, Trains, and a scene from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. If I remember.
Yes, correctly. That one is on YouTube. That one's under Carl Fraser. That one is, it surprisingly got a lot more reactions than was expected, but it's not Thanksgiving yet, and that is a Thanksgiving movie. So once Thanksgiving hits and people type in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, that sumbitch going to pop up, and they're going to be like, who are these guys?
And then you have evergreen content.
True story.
Every Thanksgiving.
Do you want to give that channel? Do you want to give that channel?
That's the thing with the Spyder. The Spyder is not just a professional wrestler. The Spyder has done acting. The Spyder has been a publisher. The Spyder has done a lot of different things. So he doesn't just settle as being just a professional wrestler. He's always out there networking, something a lot of people don't do. The Spyder goes out there and he networks. He promotes. Even when he's just walking through the damn mall, people come up to the Spyder. Oh, are you a wrestler? Yeah, here's where you can find the Spyder. Here's the companies the Spyder works for. That's constant promotion. When you're your own brand, you have to get yourself out there, whether you like it or not. If you're, one of those people that's, I don't like talking to people. I don't like talking to people. Well, get over it, because you got to, because ain't nobody gonna promote you but you.
That's some wise wisdom on a Sunday afternoon, is that you have to just get in there and do it. Get over it. And that's what you got to tell yourself now. Now you know. If you're having a hard time promoting yourself, the Spyder would tell you, get over it, go do it yourself.
And it could be little things.
And be a Spyder of all trades. Do not be a singular Spyder, be a Spyder of all trades.
And it could be little things, even just going to the gas station. People stop the Spyder and they're like, oh, are you a fighter? Or are you a wrestler? Because the Spyder's always dressed exactly the same. He's the same guy inside that ring that he is outside of that ring. Whether people like him or not, it's not their choice to decide who the Spyder is and what the Spyder looks like and the way that the Spyder portrays himself and carries himself out in the public. He is a man of the people. He will come up to you and say, hey, how you doing? Shake your hand. Talk about professional wrestling. He don't stonewall people. He don't sit there and act like he's better than anybody else, because he's just like you.
Right on.
And I think that's why the Spyder appeals to so many people, is because the Spyder is just like us. And goes through the same trials and tribulations. And so it is always nice to see, people who are in the ring that, that you can relate to. And I think the Spyder is definitely some of that appeals, especially if we've had the Spyder, we have been blessed to have the Spyder on the show before, and we've talked about it, and we'll post the link, but the Spyder has an incredible story that is on the Spyder's YouTube channel that you definitely should go check out, because it gives you some more insight into the Spyder and the things that the Spyder has been through and where we see the Spyder now. So definitely make sure that you definitely want to check that out for sure.
That link is actually no longer on the Spyder's channel, but it's still that's okay, because it's still on the channel for Jake Wilkins.
Okay,
he's the director. He's the one that put everything together.
Oh, wonderful.
And he's actually in the last couple of months, he's had the documentary has been at 2 different film festivals. This guy's getting a lot of recognition for that film, and that makes the Spyder happy, because it's a story about the Spyder, but it would have meant nothing had he not had the vision he had and made it such a great. You don't even have to like wrestling to watch this thing. That's how good it is.
Yeah,
and it's 11 minutes long. If you're going to complain about an 11-minute documentary, really, how long does it take you to chew gum?
Right, exactly. So we'll make sure that we post that link again especially for our new viewers, that if you missed it the last time, because it is like, you take 11 minutes, clear out 11 minutes from your schedule and go check out this really great story, because I think that a lot of people will enjoy it. It's very good. Mel and I definitely, it has the Powerbombshells seal of approval on it, and we definitely want you to go check that out.
Well, make no mistake, there are tons of people out there who love the Spyder. In fact, the Spyder's TikTok, just in the last week since he came back from C2E2, has had 80,000 views.
Wow.
80,000 views.
That's right. You went to the con.
Yes,
that's right.
Yes.
That's right.
And the Spyder, like every time, he's the talk of the show. So he went out there, he got himself over, and now his TikTok is blowing up. And why did that happen? Because the Spyder put himself out there. The Spyder's not afraid. Even though there are people out there who don't like the Spyder, who don't like his energy, don't like his positivity, and don't like how he puts everything into everything he does, that doesn't matter, because the Spyder's not trying to please them. The Spyder does what he does because he does it for the Spyder. And if people happen to like that, that's great. And that's why a lot of people like the Spyder, because he's real. He's not fake. He don't come on here and talk about, oh, he should be in WWE. He should be. No, they don't take you. They don't pick you. Guess what? You make them want to pick you. You make them want to select you for their company, because then they're sitting back going, wow, here's a shining star we could have had and we didn't have it.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, fantastic. Thank you, Curry. I am glad that you guys have enjoyed our Spyder run-in. We really enjoy having Spyder show up around obviously being blessed to have Spyder come on. If you have anything that you would like to throw in here for any parting words for the people out there, anything they need to check out upcoming, or anything that, obviously you'll run across them if you're wandering the streets and the wilderness, but if there's anything you'd like to put out there into the wilderness, just throw that out there here before we
City Championship Wrestling, May 1st, All-Star Sports Arena in New Baltimore. The Spyder will be there, and like usual, he will make a spectacle, and you can be guaranteed on that. And May 11th, For Us Wrestling. The Spyder, last time he was there, he was the talk of the show. And why? Because he showed up doing something nobody expected him to do. And again, it's going to happen May 11th. No matter who his opponent is, no matter if he's cutting a promo, no matter if he's just putting up the damn seats, the Spyder will be talked about. And this show is now going to be talked about because of the Spyder. You're welcome, ladies. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Spyder. We appreciate it.
Keep up the hard work.
Oh, this Spyder's energy is great.
He's always an interesting character, that Spyder, and we love to have him around. And the kids love him, and that's one of my things. And one of the things about CCW, guys, that's City Championship Wrestling. That's one of my locals that I've picked up since post-pandemic, part of the rebuild. We've obviously had Mr. Bowser on here before. Curry, I would definitely recommend the documentary. It's an excellent documentary. And anyone who's in Southeast Michigan, checking out any of those shows is well worth I do general admission. It's somewhere between $10 and $15. It's well worth it. Most of the venues are local. They were recently here raising money for our local, one of our local rescues. And I spoke to the lady that organized that last night, as a matter of fact, and they did very, very well. And so they're not just out there doing, shilling and stuff. They're like actually legitimately part of our communities around here. And it's really fun, just like with your locals that are building back up. Because we all know it was post-pandemic has been pretty hard on independent wrestling.
For sure.
But it is starting to come back, I think. And it's important to have competition because of some of the infiltration situations. That
and if you want to post, you've got, I think Mel has some of the links for City Championship Wrestling.
I do, as a matter of fact, because they will show that what happens is Paul Bowser, Cat Daddy Paul Bowser, much like Darius, does the editing and such for these shows. So he usually records them on the Thursday and usually gets them up right before the following Thursday show. That will be even closer to my house, so I'm hoping to get over there for some of these. The venue is super cool. I will be there in August they have a weekend event, and we will be there for that in August. City Championship Wrestling is doing a Motor City Championship Wrestling Con Expo. It's going to have all kinds of crazy.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool what's going on around the communities where people are building their own cons instead of going to the bigger ones. And it's cool because it allows local people to bring their wares. And that's very similar to Ren Fair. So it's got that Ren Fair vibe about it. Because like you and Nikki, I swear to God, you guys would love going to these things with us because there's tables and tables of rocks and smelly things, like good smelly things, candles and homemade soaps. And I mean, it's amazing. And the people you meet are always fun, obviously. Indie wrestling, we love it.
Yes, for sure.
But yeah, it's always I like supporting our local thing because where is that thing? Here we go. And they have started their own X account as well. They've they want to engage like the rest of us. So
and they have on their YouTube channel. Was it Thursdays that they have their shows as well? Yeah, so you can check out on their YouTube channel. They put up their shows every week. Like I think there's like a week turnaround.
Yeah, they are on Thursday, so I think it comes up Friday.
Okay, gotcha.
So you can watch Ashe, and then you can watch
right.
You can watch Ashe's weekly show when Darius is doing it, and then you can watch CCW's weekly show all for free.
Yes, and because Ashe is temporarily because they had their show in Vegas last. Thursday.
They're probably tired.
Not last Thursday, the first Thursday. And then the next show is June 28th.
Oh,
and
nice.
That is the show that Cedric Alexander will make his debut. I'm so excited.
Oh, that's perfect for that timing. That's perfect timing.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
His 90 days is up May the 7th, which we'll so he's I know he's got a few things booked already. Just from following him, I know he's got, I think, a show in, I think APC is based in France because I've seen Mustafa has wrestled there several times, and obviously they were the heart and soul of 205 Live, so I think he might have maybe Mustafa helped him get that arranged, but that I know is coming up. But yes, June 28th, I know for sure is the next Ashe show. They also have they unveiled that they're doing a tournament to crown the first women's champion of Ashe. They had the first match at the Vegas show.
That's really smart. That's what Maple Leaf did too. That's a really smart idea.
Yeah, so we knew the match was happening. It was Jada Stone versus La Rosa Negra, but then they announced prior to the match they had Jazz come out.
Ooh.
With Faye Jackson.
I still haven't caught the show yet. I need to.
And they announced, that match was now they announced the title, and then they announced that match was for the women's title, which is very exciting because, like I said, they just crowned their men's champion back in December, so now we got the women's champion. So
it's nice to see the promotion filling out like that. That's really awesome.
It's really cool.
Those are exciting milestones.
Yeah, and to watch that play out is a really cool thing. And so definitely, so you can go to YouTube for both Ashe and for CCW. They are both there, and definitely liking them helps. Especially, I don't know what CCW's number is, but Ashe for a while they surpass it. But once you get to 1,000 likes, you can start monetizing things, which is very important for the independent wrestling. So definitely make sure that you go give them likes because that is super helpful. That's a free way to support indie wrestling, is to do that and to share things. And also, Daza made me laugh with this comment.
All right, Smarty. I see what you did there.
I just had to pop that up there because it made me laugh.
No, that's very funny. Daza is on point as usual, sir. Well done. Yes, that's very funny.
So we
you
did.
guys,
We
I
appreciate
love
the
you.
Spider Man.
I love having you guys here every week. You make it all worth it.
You
right.
do.
Let's see.
All right. I guess
what do you want to talk about next? Let's do the next.
Oh, you know what? I will tell my story that I was going to tell before we.
Oh yeah, there we go. Tell the story.
So yesterday, as we know, Collision was on after the NBA for the playoff palooza. So being that the last like 3 times that this happened, the shows have started at like 11, 15-ish, sometime after 11. So Friday night, my normal editor, he worked during the day because he had the weekend off, and he graciously made me a card. So I had everything I needed. And I was like, hey, the show comes on later tomorrow because of the NBA. I'm going to schedule my preview for like 10 o'clock because we have to do it an hour before the show starts. And I was like, and so I'm just like going about my day yesterday, running errands, had some surprise car things that I had to deal with. Luckily, hopefully, knock on wood, we'll see what happens with it. Maybe under control. It may have just been a fluke thing. We shall see. So I was just doing some things, watching. And so we were watching the Braves game, and there was a lot going on. It was a lot of back and forth. The player for the Diamondbacks hit 4 home runs. One of them happened in the bottom of the 9th to tie up the game, but the Braves ended up winning in the top of the 10th. So it was nice. But anyway, so we're enjoying the Braves game. And I was like, I'm going to flip it over and see where they're at in the game so I can kind of figure out what time Dynamite's going to start or Collision's going to start. I turned it over there and the Paragon was coming out for the main event. And I was like, what the hell? So Nikki and I both stopped, and you know that meme of the monkey where he like slowly turns his head towards the camera and opens his mouth? That was us. Because it turns out Collision started way earlier than that. It was supposed to start at 8:30. It started roughly by the time we got back on the DVR. And once we got it figured out in the DVR, it started about 8:50.
Oh my God.
It's 10:30 at this point. I was like, oh my God. So I didn't know. So my main editor, who was like, I have the main editor that I work with on pretty much every time I work, but the editor above him happened to be around because he wasn't. So I DM'd him and I was like, oh my God, I thought Collision was coming on at 11, like sometime after 11. And I was like, the main event is happening as I'm talking to him. And I was like, I feel so bad because I just assumed I didn't even bother checking the schedule because the last 3 times it has been after 11 o'clock.
Right.
And I didn't think to look at the time, and I scheduled my post for 10 o'clock. Like it didn't, the preview didn't even go live until, the show was almost over. He was like, just do what you can do. And so I apologized again, and he was like, it was an honest mistake. Like, just, it's fine.
Seriously,
and
you had a human moment.
I felt so
Sam
bad.
Sam is human. Holy crap. Oh man.
I felt so bad. And so I messaged my other editor just so he would see it when he came back on Monday, and he was like around, and he was like, oh no, because he messaged me like as I was, by that point I was already, so I waited for Collision to end so that I could just, and luckily I went ahead and I knew it was going to go over. So I went ahead and recorded afterwards. And the reason I don't watch it on Max is it's harder to rewind and pause if I need to go back and look at something. So we always watch Collision on TBS because it's easier to, so we went ahead and recorded what was coming on after it because we knew the main event was going over, especially because the show didn't start till 8:50. But so like they were both like, it's all right, like it's okay. And so I went back and I watched Collision at I started it like around 11, just before 11 o'clock when I thought it was actually going to be, and I got the entire show up and got it. But I was like, I can't. I was like, of all the things to do, and I was like, and I didn't, and I guess like there were a couple other people who hang out during Collision, and will pick up articles if anything happens. And like, I guess they just didn't, because usually we tell each other that we're here, so we all know that we're
Right.
there. And I guess they just either didn't realize it or just were like, oh, well, Sam's probably like already doing it, or whatever. And so like none of them messaged me or added me. I'm like, where are you? Like, it started like, I mean, it's not that it's their job. It's not.
No, of course. I know what you're saying. Is that it was a culmination of like life miscommunications and that's life stuff. Like listen, you're so reliable that if you screw up once in a while, I'm pretty sure everybody that you are working for and with is gonna be like, no problem, Sam. You're finally human, dear lady.
Yeah, I was just luckily
I know.
I could tell. It was so funny because I think what made it even funnier because we were checking something and I happened to open Instagram, not meaning to, like just out of habit, and AEW popped up and it was a promo of Samoa Joe, and I watched it and it said live, and I was like, they're not live because they pre-taped on Wednesday afterwards, and I was like, what is it talking about? So it was like 9 something. So had my break, like the universe was like, hey, dummy, like we're trying to show you.
We're trying to tell you.
Like you opened this app for a reason to the Samoa Joe video and you still aren't getting it. Like if you turn the TV on right now, you would see that you're like 20 minutes late, but you're here. Like it's on now. But no, the universe is completely, that sign just completely flew over my head. And then, so like when we realized that it was on, I was like, oh my God. I was like, that clip I saw on Instagram was trying to tell me something, and I was just like, nope.
I think yesterday, there was an all around sort of crap ass day, and I think it should be stricken from the record forever because I feel like that was like the kind of day I was having, and so I was like, I totally feel for you.
Well,
it's such a human thing. It's a totally innocent, totally like, oops, I'm just a normal ape-brained blizzard brained.
And it's
I'm a monkey wearing clothes, okay?
Because Mel and I we realized I should have known something was off then, because so Mel messaged me and she was like, I put up the live link. I just winged it with the title. I had given her an idea for a title and never sent it. I got it ready on Friday.
You had a Mel moment.
I was in the Aldi parking lot waiting for them to bring, because I shopped online and on Friday, and so I was in the parking lot waiting for my order, and I was like, oh, because I had asked for our graphic to be made, and I was getting a title ready for Mel in case she wanted to use it. And then I never hit send. I went back to answer her and I was like, I never sent it. And then Mel was like, a little bit later, like I was out shopping and Mel was like, she was like, that's a total Mel moment. We're like merging. And then Mel was like, oh, I forgot to tell you. By the way, Spyder's going to be on the show tomorrow. So like yesterday, that was the start of all of it. I was like, I should have known then that yesterday was going to be out of the ordinary for us, but
it was
we survived. We're here.
I think it's a testament that we continue to we're still standing. That's what matters.
That's right.
We continued to push through it. We put the foot in front of the foot and kept working.
We did.
And now we get to talk about wrestling and chill out.
Oh my God.
And it worked out perfectly fine, honestly, in the end. So it's very nice. And we have all our fine pals here that are enjoying the cracking up with.
Yes, we did have to go back and time the women's matches because I did not time them live because I was like, I'm not going to, especially with Tony and Amanada, I knew I wasn't going to. But then to make it on top of everything else, so Nikki was like, I'm just going to go ahead and she's like, can I go ahead and delete these just so we can get them off the DVR? Because sometimes we forget to go back and delete. And I'm like, sure, that's fine. And then like 15 minutes later, like the show had ended and I got everything taken care of. I was putting my stuff up and I was like, you deleted it, didn't you? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, I got to time the women's matches. We have to go. So then we had to open Max. And luckily, the replays are available immediately. At worst. So we were like, trying to figure out where, like, so we went back and we timed the matches, and I was like, oh, God. So I was like, of course, just on top of everything else today, we've already deleted the shows. And I mean, of course, it was an easy problem to solve, but it's just like, of course it is. Of course we deleted it before we realized we needed the time. Of course that happened. And of course, I'm posting match times at 2 a.m. because
was the smiley face thing with the planets yesterday. I wonder if that was just laughing at us. There was like a whole thing where like Saturn and one of the other planets and the moon and the sun were going to line up to make a smiley because of how the like moon is reflected, and it made like a smiley face. Maybe it was the universe just laughing at us.
It definitely was, because we are out of the retrograde. All the planets are, out of retrograde right now. However, Saturn is the planet of boundaries and discipline. So I think Saturn was like, hey, you're not paying attention. So I'm going to tell you that you're not paying attention. Like,
so you're my favorite planet, and yet you're troublesome. Oops. I think I popped your.
That's okay. Hello, Sean. Thank you for joining us. And Sean,
welcome.
He's correct. We don't always see and recognize the signs the universe tries to show us, even Instagram posts. Exactly. And usually, like,
and you're not even supposed to believe what you see on the internet all the time.
Usually I'm good at picking up on things I see. I'm very much a person who believes in signs. I always have. And so I can generally pick them up. And I caught some yesterday, like out doing other things. But the AEW signs were just not yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, we're just like, at the end of the day, we're all just a bunch of monkeys in clothes.
Yeah, pretty much.
We screw up here and there. We do our absolute best. Some of us, I mean, those of us, I think here, I think the group here are we do our best type of group. So
Nikki said she always say that the universities have beat her over the head with signs because I'm not gonna get it. Yeah, in some cases for sure. I'm definitely that way too.
That's okay.
Yeah, Nikki said as soon as she said, "Did you delete them?" I was like, "Damn it," because I knew that I did. And luckily, we had an easy fix. We didn't have to wait for the show to be on demand with TBS because that would have taken time. So luckily, like it was an easy fix for a very first world problem.
Nice. Yes. And that's the other thing too, as I try and remind myself that, a lot of these things are first world problems. And I did have like a lot of friends really like step up for me at the end of the day. And it was like, this is cool because they like kind of, it's really nice to have a community where you have like a thing and it's just like, they just talk you down and just remind you that it's like, okay to feel and be frustrated and have stress and things like that. And that's really, I think that meaningful connection with humans is something that is missing in a lot of places, but because I have this fun little town that I live in where there's a lot of cool people and a lot of cool events that we interact with, it makes, especially nowadays, it helps a lot.
For sure.
Very cool. And I am very grateful for my little space in the world.
Yeah. And yesterday I spent a lot of time. I mean, I have been spending less time online in general, but yesterday, like I was offline a lot because I was out. Like I went to a plant sale. They were like, somebody was selling like native plants and things. And that was like, and so I was out doing that. And I found 3 medicinal herbs that I'm going to plant in my garden. So I did that. And then Nikki and I went to Marshall's and we ran into one of our cousins that we haven't seen in months. And because she's not normally on our side of town, and she heard me and Nikki talking and was like, the person she was with, she was like, wait a minute, those are my cousins, and just like left and came over to talk to us for a few minutes. And so I was out, and then of course experiencing the car issue. So it's like out doing in real life things, and I guess just did too much in real life things because and I did open social media a couple of times, that everything like I saw was like talking about the draft or talking about like just nothing about Collision being like, and it was because the other Slack, they weren't watching Collision. That sometimes we watch wrestling together or we just happen to be on, they weren't watching Collision. So I didn't happen to see like, hey, did you see that? And so I like none of the like normal signs I would have picked up on, but like, wait a minute, is this on? So
it happens.
It was a fun little lesson.
Yeah, that's okay.
From now on, I will not assume that that AEW coming on after an NBA game, I will not assume that it's an 11 o'clock game. And I was talking to my friend about it, and he was like, well, there was an NBA game that went long, but it was on ABC. He's like,
you're like, what does it help me?
And
don't have
I
a
was
deal
like,
with Disney.
yes, I was like, from now on, I will always check the schedule and see what time the NBA game is on. So I learned my lesson yesterday.
Hey, I think you're good.
Yes, that's the truth. Sean said Stuart Smiley's daily affirmation is more relevant today more than ever. I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me.
So true.
Stuart. He always had good affirmations.
He sure did. Those are some of my favorite. That was a great era of Saturday Night Live.
It was. I loved that
There
era.
was so much good about that era of Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
There was so many funny things. Stuart Smiley was one of the many highlights of that cast.
Yes, for sure.
Many years.
I appreciate Sean for reminding us of that.
Yeah, I know.
It is. And it's stupid and cheesy, but it's true. Which is why it works. Which is why those stupid things. And it was great because they always made it look like those old 80s videos.
Oh, yeah.
Like the date or early 90s, like those dating videos. And it would have daily affirmation. And it had like always had the great little video of the couple walking. And it's like it's like a picture of the water reflecting in the sun. It was always, I loved it. It was
so good. Those series of Saturday Night Lives are those are like my favorites. It's like when you pick your era of wrestling, that's my era of Saturday Night Live.
That is, yeah. And I was buying for a while, I think Walmart was putting them out. They had those DVDs that it was cool. Best of Will Ferrell, best of Adam Sandler, and so I have Chris 4 or 5 of those that I have watched so many times that I've watched because I do still record it. I don't keep up with SNL as much as I did, not on purpose, just to have it. But there was a period of time that's what I was doing every Saturday. Was even I would go out on Saturdays, and if I happened to be home in time for SNL to come on, that's what I was tweeting about SNL while I had just come home from doing whatever, being out with my friends, and I'm like, oh, it's time to watch SNL.
When I was camping in the summer, our radio, I could tune it to get the channel that had SNL on it, so I would listen to it when we were at camp on the radio.
Awesome.
So I had it, and back then it was a recording one, so I would record some of the audio that I would get sometimes, just so that I would have there were a couple of Kevin Nealon's subliminal commentaries, which is one of my favorite freaking thing in the world when you used to do subliminal commentaries, because I love old school opinion pieces, and then he would throw all the words in there. It was so great, and I had one on an audio cassette at one time. It was so amazing.
That reminds me. So the comedy, one of the big, because we have a comedy zone here, and we were one of the, I mean, they've got them in Florida too, but the comedy zone was the big thing. And so they would bring in people from SNL. And so Nikki and I got to meet, we got to see Colin, no, actually this wasn't at the comedy zone. This was somewhere else. We went to see Colin Quinn do a show. It was great.
Cow.
And then Nikki and I happened to run into him that night, after the show, and we talked to him, and it was funny because he said, where are you from? And I was like, here. And he was like, you sound like you're from the Midwest. And that's not the first time I've gotten that. And then I realized when I was in college, I had to take a voice and diction class, which is how they teach you to talk on the news and how you.
Yep.
And so that's why you have people a lot of times from different parts of the country, because you have to be able to talk. And I didn't realize that carries some of that stuff, the way I pronounce things. There are certain words I already pronounce ways. Nikki always teases me because I pronounce the way I pronounce S's on certain words. She always, because I've always done it. But I realized that I must have taken more from that class than I realized.
You did.
That he's not the only person who has said that to me. I've had that on a couple of work calls before, that they thought I was from the Midwest. And I'm like, no, I'm from the South. And if you listen, and I was like, especially if I've been drinking, you will know.
Oh yes. This is
my accent will
we've decided, because my cousin is from Greater Boston, and he grew up in the Greater Boston area, and he very much sounds like it. And it's when you're drunk or angry. Yes. Is when the accents come out. And I actually, it's so funny that you bring that up. I was just telling Bob about the fact that communications classes do that. They make, so you've taken that class. I told him about that class that they give. I had never actually taken it. I didn't get to that level, but I was just telling him about how they make you take that class in journalism and communications. Yes. And they picked the Midwest because and now there is make no mistake about it, because if you're around here, you'll hear the people, and they have a weird mix of Canadian and local, like everything that has a Mart or a like Target has an S on it here.
Yeah, that happened. That was also a southern. That was happening a lot here. It was Walmart's, Targets, Aldi's.
But it's
like,
the
Walmart. I
Walmart.
didn't realize that Aldi
The
did not have an
Walmart.
S.
It's not just even Walmart. It's the Walmart.
Right.
Or the Kmart's was how, and Bob's grandma, his mom and his grandma do it. It's funny. It's so cute. It's like, and I get it, because my New Englanders, we all have it too. But because my mom was a Navy brat and my dad kind of bounced around, I really never picked up any sort of accent. My sister can sound Mainer if she wants to, because she was born and raised there. Gotcha. I was born in a different state, but I don't really remember, so I consider myself a Mainer. I just don't. Everyone's like, you don't have the accent. I'm like, and I really can't do it. My stepdad had it. My sister can do it. Like, she can do the accent, because she's much more, I mean, she was literally born in Brunswick, Maine, so it was like, yeah, whatever.
Gotcha.
So she's very good at it. She can do the and because we pronounce like area, anything that ends in an A is an ER. So it's America or area.
Oh yeah, because it's very much the British, because Nigel is someone who does it a lot.
That's where it comes from.
Adds the R to the end of it.
Actually, once I got to know people from those parts of the world, I realized where the Boston, New England, and Upper New York accent comes. Yeah. You can, because if you listen to British and Irish people talk fast, you start to hear the similarities in where it came from.
Yeah,
it's
then they
super funny
here in a lot of the language.
And if I spend too much time in anywhere in northern New Jersey or New York area, that's when you'll hear an accent come out in me, because I do pick up that accent because it's a family thing. My family were mostly from North Jersey.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
So they sounded more like they were a bastardized. They had moved from North Jersey to New England.
Right.
So it really messed with the accent situation.
Oh, I'm sure that it did.
My family was very hilarious to listen to at holidays. And like one of my favorite memories, honestly, is with my dad and his cousin, my second cousin Larry. And we were all doing the accents of everybody as they were talking. But I was like 12 or something, and I was doing it. I was like 12, I was like maybe 14. I might have been like on the verge of high school. And I was just cracking the two of them up, because I was just mimicking my grandma and my aunts and my grandparents, like my grandpa and my uncles and all these people. And those two were just dying. Like, my dad had this laugh where he would laugh so hard that he would get that snaggle pussy. Like looked like he was gonna blow up because he was laughing so hard and like holding it in.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's so funny. Like, we just had and I actually got a part in a school play doing my grandmother's accent.
Amazing.
I just did it on the thing, and I was like really mad because I was like, my name's not on the callback list. I thought I did pretty good. And she's like, oh yeah, no, we're just gonna give you that part. We just thought you knew.
Thought you knew.
I was just mimicking. I literally was. It was not a huge part, but it was a fairly decent part, and it was like. But I just did my grandma.
Perfect.
Yeah. It was Flowers for Algernon, and it was the lady that owned the bakery.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And I just did it as I literally was mimicking my like family members.
So funny.
It was amazing. It got a pop every single time I came out. It was like
fantastic.
Best case scenario. Because I'm like terrible stage fright back then. So I was doing it to really push my boundaries.
Yeah.
Because I was the weird jock that didn't do any other sports. I only did soccer.
Right.
So in the off season, I had to find other things to do, and I fell into theater, and it was hilarious. So it was a lot of fun.
That's great.
See, I do lots of different things too, but I don't talk in the third person. I can't refer to myself in the third person. It seems weird.
Yeah. All right. I suppose we should talk about
go on with our things before it gets too late here.
Yeah.
Yes. Actually, Jack Candy was also brilliant.
Yes, Jack Candy was great. The deep thought. And also, hopefully this doesn't mean that you leave us, and if you do, I understand. But at 3 p.m. Eastern time, Scott Edwards will also be on this very network, not on our show, but he will be doing his Stardom show. They had a really big show this morning. I believe that was Stardom is not something I keep up with, so I apologize if I get them.
It's the Princess. I believe the Princess tournament thing is going on.
Tam Nakano. Or Tam Nakano, I always hear it pronounced both ways, but Tam had her retirement match this morning.
Oh, okay.
And then somebody asked us about Thekla earlier, that she was fired, and then somebody else said they thought it was in storyline, which is what I assume. I don't keep up with Stardom a lot. I mean, I'm clearly familiar with Thekla, and I know she's been doing a lot of stuff with War Dogs. She and Clark Connors have been doing stuff together. He went and wrestled and they did like an intergender tag match somewhere. Thekla has shown up here and there with him. She's done stuff with it. So they clearly have like a merging of some of the stuff that they're doing. And so I don't watch Stardom enough to speak on that, but my assumption is that it's a storyline. But
my timeline was blown up with Joshi today, so I'm pretty sure that it was a good show.
I heard it was a really good show. I know. I did see Walker Stewart say that it was the biggest show that they had.
Nice.
Like 76, I think it was 7,600 people were there. And it was like, and he was talking about, how proud he was of he was saying that Stardom, not just becoming a cornerstone in women's wrestling, but just wrestling in general.
Nice.
And he just really put over the women and the company, and like and he was like, I'm going to be riding this high until I have to call New Japan in 48 hours. And like, so I heard a lot of really good things about that. So Scott Edwards is obviously your guy. For all things Joshi related. That's your guy. But he'll be live at 3:00. And so if you leave us, we will understand. But also, if you stay with us, then you can also go hop over there as well. But he will be live at 3:00 Eastern time.
Good job.
Talking about all things Stardom. But yes, Queen Aminata. And she did put on an excellent performance versus Tony, and she definitely deserves a serious push. I 100% agree. I feel like that match was to set her up, because she is, when the ROH Women's Pure Tournament starts, they did an interview segment two episodes ago with Serena Deeb and Queen Aminata, and they're going to be in the first round. And I think that match was kind of just, I knew that Queen Aminata had been injured. She got injured in a match with Julia. I didn't realize it had been 5 weeks since that injury. Last night was her first match back in 5 weeks. But I feel like they're kind of just trying to reinsert her to kind of get, because when they absolutely could put the pure title on her. Depending on who all's in that tournament, how that plays out. But Queen Aminata, I think, is a serious contender, and I think that was kind of why they put her in that spot last night to have the title eliminator match with Tony, because even though she didn't win, that match went 11.5 minutes. So if that had been a proving ground match, which in ROH they do proving ground matches, if you last 10 minutes with the champion, or if you beat the champion, you get the title shot. The eliminator match, you have to beat them. So she went 11.5 minutes. So had that been
a proving ground match, she would have won it.
She would be getting a future title shot. So I do think that was just to kind of reintroduce the fans to Queen Aminata, because it's been 5 weeks, but also I think
I can't believe it's been 5 weeks so fast.
Yeah, and so that I think they're definitely gonna put them. I mean, I think that was just because I think they're gonna build her up for this tournament. But I'm glad that she got that spot. And it was so funny, because I think it was Tony Schiavone was like, I didn't expect this to be so hard hitting. And I'm like, have you watched a Queen Aminata match?
50-50.
Because Queen Aminata, I was like, that's what she does. She goes full force. Like, she reminds me of Athena in a lot, where once that bell rings, she goes hard, and she doesn't let up. So she made Tony's nose bleed in that match last night.
Yep.
So it was a really good match. I really enjoyed it. Anna Jay is back. Anna Jay hasn't wrestled. I didn't realize. I knew obviously she wrestled the New Japan show in January, and representing AEW. But when I was writing my preview, I didn't realize that she had not been in AEW since December, when she lost the TBS championship match to Mercedes. We haven't seen her. And then she did wrestle in January, and then all they said on commentary was that she hasn't wrestled since January, and they just left it at that. So I don't know if She's dealing with an injury, took some time off. They just weren't booking her. Not really sure, but she's back. She had a minute match, or 55-second match last night. But then they did the thing afterwards. They did have Penelope Ford come back. Penelope and Anna Jay used to feud a couple of years ago, and then she kind of basically softened her up for Megan Bayne. Megan Bayne came out, put her in Fate's Descent. So it looks like Megan and Anna will probably have a match coming up sooner rather than later. Probably, I'm wondering if that's going to be the I keep wanting to say spring break, but beach break. That's the show that's coming up where they're doing Samoa Joe versus Jon Moxley for the title. So I'm wondering if they're going to do Megan Bayne versus Anna Jay maybe at that show. So we'll see. Yes, she definitely did win the way she lost. Queen Aminata should be the one to take the TBS championship for Mercedes instead of Athena. I want Queen Aminata to have a title, and I have even for before they started the story with Mercedes, my prediction, or one of the things I wanted to see was Queen Aminata defeat Athena to become the ROH Women's Champion, because she's one of the few people who I think can do it and do it justice and be a really good champion for ROH. So I would even take her, but I'm thinking she's getting the pure title. I think is where, I mean, there is Serena Deeb, who obviously makes a lot of sense. And then Deanna and Taya are also in that tournament. So Deanna also makes sense for a pure champion because of the style of wrestling that Deanna does. So I could see them potentially going with Deanna. Layla Gray has entered that tournament as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But regardless, Queen Aminata needs a title somewhere. Whether it's ROH or AEW, she needs a title.
Sorry, I've got dogs barking in the background
okay.
because
Miley
how it is.
Yes, Miley was barking earlier. So
as you've seen, my dogs have been in and out here, folks. It's been Sam had her own problems. I had tech problems yesterday, so
yes, we had Miley was barking. The front door was open, and somebody came across the street, so Miley was barking at them. So we completely understand. But speaking of,
I guess terrier, so that's
yes, I had a terrier, so I understand.
They're barky.
I had a Yorkie, so I completely.
It's a rat terrier mix.
Very yes.
And I had a previous to her, we had a Jack Russell, so it's like, we live for the bark here.
Yes, I completely understand. But yeah, so speaking of the TBS Championship, we did have on Wednesday, we had the match between the much anticipated match between Jaime Hayter and Chris Statlander. That match closed out the show, which was it was a really, really great match. I think it lived up to the hype. Obviously, Jaime Hayter was the one who she defeated Chris, and she will face Mercedes Mone at Double or Nothing for the Owen Cup finals. Where do you think they're going with this? Do you have an idea of who you think is going to win that match?
No, I'm a little confused by this, actually. I'm like, this is totally different than where I thought they were going. So now I'm not sure. Now they're doing the final matches on Double or Nothing, right?
Yes, right. Okay. And then
because
the winner of each match gets a match against the champion at All In.
Right.
And so
so
whoever wins between Mercedes and Jaime, assuming Tony is still the champion at All In, they will face Tony. And then assuming Jon Moxley is still the champion at All In, then either Hangman or Kyle Fletcher will face Jon Moxley. I mean, I'm sorry. The winner of Hangman and Kyle Fletcher versus will face Will Ospreay at Double or Nothing. And then the winner of Will Ospreay and Hangman Fletcher will face Jon Moxley or whoever's the champion at All In.
I hope that Samoa Joe is going to end up somehow having the title, but I don't know.
I don't think that's happening.
I know.
No, I don't think that's happening.
I'm not sure. I guess giving Hangman another shot at the belt is probably a good idea, but I feel like Dare to Dream.
I think Will Ospreay is winning.
I think Ospreay is facing
Will Ospreay. Before the tournament even started, he called his shot.
Yeah.
I think it's Ospreay Mox. I think Hangman and Swerve are doing something at All In, whether it's against each other or if they are teaming up against the Young Bucks has been a theory.
That seems to be like where they're leaning. It looks like they're gonna team up now because a little bit enemy of my enemy stuff.
Right.
Because
unless they do Swerve Omega. Well, no, I don't think so. I was gonna say Swerve on Omega, but I still think they're doing Omega Okada. Omega Okada.
They're doing that 8-man on Dynamite coming up.
Last night, Omega did come in and make the save with Swerve. But I think that's to set up anarchy in the arena because Kenny will be on Swerve's team. But I think Swerve and Hangman will be doing something either against each other or together. But I think Will Ospreay is wrestling Jon Moxley at All In. And I think Will Ospreay is winning at All In.
I think that's smart. I think that's a smart move. I think he's incredibly hot right now. I think you got to get that belt on him sooner than later. And I don't have a problem with it at all because it needs to happen. I know that Omega Okada is probably gonna be an all-in match. So,
and I'm gonna say I've been saying it since they teased it. That is gonna be what closes your show, whether they do a double main event or not. Because I've seen so many people fantasy booking All In, and I get it; it's hard not to.
It's gotta be Omega
people
Okada.
upset. They get then they get really pissed off when it doesn't play out the way that it does. And I get it because I'm fantasy booking myself by saying Omega Okada is main eventing. But I feel like even if you do a double main event, Omega Okada is what closes the show.
You have to.
That's
literally the biggest match in wrestling. That match was supposed to happen, didn't happen because of the formation of a company. Then the pandemic happened, so there was no chance of it happening again for ages. I mean, Omega Okada 5 is like the biggest. I mean, I say that as someone who that is the biggest match you could book for me right now.
Yes.
Like that is,
and
if I were not poor at this moment, I would be going to that.
I am working on it, trying to figure out how to make it happen. I am working on it to make it happen because I want to be there for that match.
And
then I want to be there for, and then I want to be there for Athena too. But I definitely want to be there for that match.
Okay, so this is the reason that I'm confused about. Like, so what is the path to Athena having a match versus Mercedes? So Mercedes has to win the tournament.
I don't think she's winning the tournament. I think
I don't either. It feels like Jaime Hayter's
I don't think Jamie's winning the tournament. Is she beating Tony? I don't know. Possibly. You could. They have history. That's why, because people were like, I can't believe it's not Chris. They're not going to do Chris Mercedes 3 in the tournament. I didn't think they were going to do Chris Mercedes 3
All In comes before Forbidden Door or after?
Before, because All In
so
is
then
July,
that makes sense.
All In is July 12th. Forbidden Door is in August, later August, I think.
That makes a lot. Actually, that makes a lot of sense with Jaime Hayter because that was supposed to be her moment previously.
Yes. She came and she returned at All In London last year. She returned on the pre-show. They also have her and Tony have history. I don't think that they were doing. I didn't think they were going to do Mercedes Chris 3 in the Owen because that's what people kept saying. They thought it was going to be Chris because they want Chris to win, and I was like, I don't think that's.
I get it, but
but Jamie makes the most sense.
Yes.
I think it is possible that Athena gets involved with Mercedes and costs her the title because Mercedes beat Athena, handed her second loss in AEW. She lost in the tournament in the Owen last year. She lost in the Owen again this year. I think that Athena gets involved in that match most likely. That sets up and costs her the title shot. I think that sets up Athena versus Mercedes at All In. Potentially for the ROH title, for the belt collector story. Maybe that's where they're going. Regardless, they don't need a title to have that match.
Correct.
It could even be for the TBS championship. That's certainly a possibility too, because you have to have the TBS title. I think on All In, it would be a mistake not to have both women's titles. They both have to be defended at All In because that is your premier show this year. That is the biggest show that you're having.
That would be good because then you'd have two women's matches because in theory you would have Tony versus Jamie and you would have Athena versus Mercedes, and those are two really great matches that you're looking at.
Right.
Jamie comes away with the women's championship. She goes to Wembley
Right. I would say she goes into London at Forbidden Door with the title, which is what I think that's what they're doing. That's where
because I think that's where they were going in the first place when she was supposed to be, but she got hurt.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And Jamie's great. She's come back really strong. She's
yeah.
such
And
a great
I have no
addition.
problems with Chris. And I think Chris definitely, at some point, we do see her as champion. I just think
it's
now,
good to have Chris in the division because Chris can do both. She's almost becoming an Ishii a little bit, which is exactly the kind of person you want to.
Yeah.
The women's division needs one of those.
Yes. Then
That's
you have
not an
Willow,
insult.
and I know people are upset about Willow and Chris not being involved in this, but this card's still playing out. But I also think that
There's a lot of shows coming up.
Willow is in the feud with Marina. She's the only woman from the AEW side who's done anything with the Death Riders. None of these other women will even step to Marina.
Correct.
But Willow will, and she has multiple times. She flipped off Jon Moxley.
Right.
She took a paradigm shift from that man. Like, I think that so Willow is in, and I get
Willow's
it.
happiness cancels out all their negative Nelly.
And then Willow last night, she received. I don't know exactly what the CMLL show is, but I saw different things that brought women together from different companies. But Willow was there. Emi Sakura was she wrestled last night at whatever the show was at CMLL, and so Willow is involved in things. And Chris, I don't think Willow and Chris are being. And I know from what it looks like right now, and it seems like Willow, I think people are afraid that Willow and Chris are going to be left off of All In, and I don't necessarily know that they will be. And I do, of course, I think they're two of the cornerstones of the women's division. But I think that in this moment, Jaime Hayter makes the most sense.
Yeah. Agreed.
And then also, Jermaine, Ring of Honor pay-per-view has been pushed. It is no longer happening the night before All In. They pushed it to September because they have pushed down or they pushed Supercard of Honor was supposed to be May the 2nd. They basically did not do anything to prep for it, so they moved it because apparently Supercard was almost sold out.
Yikes.
And they moved it to, but there's also where it's happening now. It's happening around the same. I know one of the shows. It might be the other. Death Before Dishonor got moved to September. There's a show called Dean. It was and I apologize for. I know I'm not going to get the name of the zine that he was behind, right? But it was it Death Valley Driver Review? I apologize for not remembering it correctly what it was called. But anyway, this gentleman was really big in the zine. A lot of wrestlers used it. The forums were really popular. A young Tony Khan used to post there. He died he died within the last few years. Other people have put on shows for him in his memory. Tony Khan is getting involved this year, and he will be helping. I think he's going to be sending talent there. I think he's helping fund. I think he's going to be involved with it. It was announced earlier this week. So I think that Death Before Dishonor was moved to be close to the Dean show. So now that kind of throws things off with as far as I'm glad that they're moving it because we were as of last week before they announced that they were moving it. There were no matches announced for Supercard of Honor.
That's right. You told me that.
0. And so now they have a little bit more time to hopefully figure out what the hell they're doing. And
have they said where they're doing it or?
Yes. One is at the 2300 arena.
Oh yeah, right here.
I think Death Before Dishonor is at 2300 arena, and I think Death Before Dishonor is at the Esports Arena in Dallas. I think I could be wrong on those because those announcements came out a couple of days ago. But yeah, so they have pushed both of those pay-per-views back, which means it will not be happening All In weekend. And so that also kind of, if Athena is dropping that ROH title to not Mercedes, then hopefully between now and September, they build up a woman who can carry on that division once Athena leaves, unless they're giving it. I mean, of course, Billy is the most logical, but if Billy is coming up with her, then they need somebody else down there, and there is nobody else right now in a position where they could run that division, which is why I had the theory of having Deanna do it, but then they announced the Pure title, and so Deanna could very much win the Pure title. So it'll be interesting to see how ROH plays out in the next between May and September and whatever they're doing there. See, yeah, Ray's he mentioned that Thekla was fired by Stardom this morning We were saying that we don't watch Stardom enough to really say one way or another, but my initial reaction when seeing it was that it was storyline. But I could be wrong because Stardom is not my thing.
Yeah, but Scott Edwards coming up here in about a minute.
He's live right now, or will be. He's going.
We don't want to see you go, but we do love our good brother Scott Edwards, and he is your all things Joshi nonstop shop for all things Joshi, and we love him very much. So definitely,
so if you need to go over there and find out what is going on with Steph, please do.
Because we know there were big things in Joshi today. So
yes. Ray says, I think Julia needs backup at NXT. She needs to start her own faction down in Orlando. Would be interesting if Thekla showed up there. Would be really interesting to see. But Julia did have her. I mean, she's not moving up from NXT now, but she did debut on Monday night. Cool. She got involved in because Monday they randomly had a banger of a match between Io Sky and Stephanie Vaquer. I was wondering how they were going to finish this because they were both champions. I mean, losing to Io Sky is not going to hurt anybody.
No.
But Stephanie just retained that title at Stand and Deliver. It ended up Roxanne Perez got involved and it ended in a DQ. And then Julia came out because Julia and Roxanne, I believe, were having a match the next night. But they got their, so they were in there. So it wasn't their technical, like true call ups, but they got, and because Roxanne has wrestled a few times on the main roster. I feel like I thought she was getting moved up sooner, but I don't know. But so Julia, it'll be interesting to see kind of what they're doing because you can't keep Julia, Jordan, and Stephanie down in NXT forever. But right. I don't know. You've got to find room for them now. Becky is back. So I'm sure it'll come. So it's interesting things happening on the circle, like, on NXT and ROH with, where these women are. So for on ROH, they tend to they go back and forth between AEW a lot sometimes. So it's not like it's a true thing with NXT, but it's something where you see like, okay, these are your champions and you got to figure out like who comes next, like who replaces Stephanie back here, who like probably Jordan Grace, but like who they have that type of talent that who replaces Athena. Like that's kind of where you see that in both NXT and ROH. With that, Fernando says, I found the story of Mercedes in the AEW Women's Championship to her collection is a lot more compelling than Jamie trying to avenge her title loss to Toni Storm. I just don't think Mercedes is going to win that title anytime soon. I don't think that's what they're doing. I mean, they certainly could. You can make the argument for them doing Mercedes to extend the belt collector, to have Mercedes beat Toni, but then you also have that being her elusive title that she can't get. And also it elevates Jamie. Mm-hmm. We've got to get that title away from Toni Storm. As much as I love her, it's been almost 2 years now. We got to get it away from her. Mercedes has multiple. I mean, absolutely, there is an argument for Mercedes to win that title. But I think there's also a better argument for, not necessarily better. There's also, I think, and also an intriguing option with Jamie. But I get it that Jamie, that's not a story that some people want to see. Like I see what Fernando is saying. I get like both sides of it. I just feel like the way this is playing out is where Mercedes and Athena has always been the match for All In. They've been planting the seeds since the announcement was made last year. I feel like this was always the story. And the TBS title is the kind of been the cornerstone of that feud because, I've talked about it before. Athena was talking about, isn't she beautiful? And she's zooming in away from Mercedes and is zooming in on the TBS championship. That's what she has her sights on. I feel
would make the most sense to bring her up to the main roster, but you know what I'm saying, to bring her up to AEW television. I think that with someone like Athena, I think it would make the most sense to have the TBS championship on her if that was the route they were going to go, to get her on her way in the women's division and started on new storylines that can take place going forward. So it does make sense. I see both sides too. I don't think that it's impossible that she could beat Mercedes could beat Toni. That's totally possible. And I guess it's nice that we aren't 100% certain because that's what you want.
And that all the stories make sense. Like they
Yeah.
can make it work however they
Either
go
way.
ahead with it. And, you know, Curryhead here says that I would say Mercedes winning the RH title at All In is a better storyline than winning the AEW title. I mean, yeah. And again, there's
be.
arguments for both. And I am not going to be mad with either story, especially the way they build it. We've got some time. Double or Nothing is at the end of May.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's no pay-per-view in June. I believe they're doing like last year. And so All In is July 12th. And so you've got, what is that? Like maybe a 6, I haven't counted.
Yeah, so that's like about a 6
at
week
least
window.
a 6-week window that they can let these stories kind of play out. We can kind of figure out where they're going with them. But I feel like Mercedes and Athena has always been the story. They planted seeds the day they announced it. They had that match announced, or when they announced the show, Athena was there because she's from Texas, and that's another thing. She's from Texas. I appreciate it, Riri. He's a peace out for now. I got a lot
totally understood.
Definitely understand. Thank you for stopping by. We appreciate it.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
And so I feel like that's because Athena is from Texas. And I know they don't always do the hometown win. They don't always do it. But I feel like that plays a factor into their booking, which is why Dustin Rhodes has 2 titles in ROH because, they were going to do Death Before Dishonor in Texas, but now they're not. So maybe they're going to take the titles off of him for a little bit and then
change things up.
Please do, because you have the Infantry and Gates of Agony, and I know Gates of Agony have Gates of Agony have been making themselves known to AEW, and now the Learning Tree
coming up this weekend, right?
Now the Learning Tree wants Gates of Agony. I don't remember if they made that official yet, and for which
they said they wanted them. I don't know when the match is going to be.
I don't know if it's going to be on Dynamite or if it's going to be on Collision. Probably,
but they could have said something in between last night when the show, or this morning when I watched the show, and everything.
I think it's probably my guess it'll be on Collision because that's where Gates of Agony tends to be.
That makes sense.
I feel like that's going to be a Collision.
Oh, you know what? It's coming up. Not next week, but the week after is Detroit. So maybe I'll get to see that match live.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not next week. It came up fast. Yeah, I didn't even realize it. It's not that. It's not,
now that you say that,
it's not this week that we're headed into, but it's
May starts
week.
Thursday.
So after next week's Powerbombshells, I will have AEW stories to tell.
Yeah.
So
I wait for that, and I will get to these. There's 2 comments on here that I will get to, but also I wanted to. Oh, hang on. It's not letting me click from where I was at, but yes,
of course.
I also hope big things for Roxy. I think she's brilliant too. She's really good. Jermaine says AEW could have Thunder Rosa beat Athena to win the ROH Women's World Title. I say this because ROH seems to be more Texas based. Jermaine, that's a really good point.
Great idea.
Because they do tend to run Dallas often, and that kind of goes back to my point about Dustin Rhodes and also Sammy. Sammy is from Texas as well. I hadn't really thought of it, but that's a really good point because they do, and when they are in Texas, they do a lot of outreach to
because Thunder Rosa has
to Lucha fans and things like that. They send Thunder Rosa out a lot when they were doing that 6-week residency there. They had Thunder Rosa out there a lot doing PR for both English and Spanish markets and doing a lot of things like that. So that is definitely something they could do with, and Thunder Rosa is somebody who is a former world champion. And so that can bring a lot of credibility because again, like Athena has been the brand of ROH for 2 years now, basically since its beginning under Tony Khan. And nobody is going to fill her shoes. That's clear. But you have to have somebody who is going to take the ball and continue ROH on its path.
Well, you can't keep Athena on ROH forever.
Using as it is. Right. And so if Deanna is getting the pure, because, Deanna was my argument. She's the former champion, multi-time champion. She's wrestled, and see, she also has the relationship with CMLL. She was also the first, I believe.
Right. She does.
The Arenas champion, but I believe that's the AAA title. I want to say, I don't think that's the CMLL.
Yeah,
title.
I think you're right.
Regardless, so she has experience wrestling in Mexico, so they could use, and Taya obviously does. Taya spent a lot of time wrestling in Mexico, so you have that as well. But I think Thunder Rosa is really intriguing, and you could do Thunder Rosa. I think she could bring a lot of credibility and could help the women's division where it's going to next, especially because she also had a women's promotion for a while, and Thunder Rosa was running Mission Pro, and she was doing a lot of stuff down there, so that could definitely factor into that. I like that idea, Jermaine. Maria points out that Mercedes versus Timeless Tony is too huge not to happen at All In, which is a fair argument. I don't think they're going to do winner takes all. I don't think that's happening because I think there's too many women in the division to have her take all the titles. But they could. Again, these stories, I don't think you have to do winner takes all, but I think you can, and I think it would work.
Just depends on where you're going next,
right? And where you're setting up for the next, for the rest of 2025, where you're setting up for going into year 7 with the women's division, and they better be main eventing pay-per-views. Is all I'm saying. But Maria makes a fair point. Like, all of these things
could happen.
They could happen, and they all would make sense if they did. And
that's a good feeling, though. I think it's a nice feeling that, because one of my favorite features of a New Japan, for example, is that I don't know, and I'm okay with the outcomes that are presented before me. And even if I fantasy book something, like, they might entirely do something even none of us have thought of, and it'll maybe be better. I mean, the Bucks did have a hell of a match on Wednesday. Like,
that match was great. And now we know that if we need a tag team for that division, we can put Speedball and Kevin Knight, and they would be an amazing tag team.
I love that tag team. They're also setting up a couple of tag teams, though, because even last night with the Gates of Agony versus Learning Tree, and they've been pairing people up, and I'm like, are we seeing the beginnings of a resurgence of some
and they had the really incredible match between the Crew and Top Flight in the Texas Tornado match.
Yes.
Which was really great, and Crew needed that win. But then, as Nikki says, like, they've been feuding for months. Like, we need to see them veer away from it. It's time to, like with Swerve and Hangman, time to separate them for a little bit. Do we see them finally bring back Private Party? We have not seen Private Party since they dropped their titles. They're healthy. They are cleared. Is this how we bring Private Party back in? Because that's where that story all started with Top Flight, and because Leo and actually Andretti had been with them, and then Leo came into the picture, and then they were butting heads, and that's how we got this entire feud. So bringing Private Party back in, even if they're not anywhere near the title, to flesh out your division, which, as we said, used to be one of the most stacked tag team divisions. When AEW first started, the first 2 or 3 years, their tag team division was stacked. And then I again have said it many times, I will never forgive them for not belting Best Friends and for not belting Proud and Powerful when they had the opportunity. Now that's never going to happen. Well, never say never, because it's wrestling, but most likely never going to happen.
I mean, again, we're talking about the company that arguably put on one of the greatest tag team wrestling matches of all time with the Kenny Omega, Adam Page, Bucks.
Yes.
I mean, even Dave Meltzer has gone out there and said he thinks it's the greatest of all time.
It is. And then you had the 7-match series with the Young Bucks and Lucha Brothers. That was incredible. That especially match 7, when you had the
one that everyone poo-pooed when they saw it on paper and loved every minute of it once it was happening. I love
that paper. That was the entire
I love the entire, some of the best shit in the world.
Like, that feud was for me. Like, that was the tag team wrestling that I love. And then that, to cap it off with that match, the Escalera de la Muerte, as I think was what it was officially called, that ladder match, incredible. One of my favorite matches of all time. One of my favorite AEW matches. And so, yes, Jermaine, I'll get to your comment in a second, but since we're on tag team wrestling, wasted too much damn time with FTR, and they still are, because we're going to talk about that too. But before we do, I want to bring up Jermaine's comment that he always thought they could do Mercedes versus Athena at Forbidden Door. That is an interesting place to put it. I still think All In is where you have to do something, but Forbidden Door also makes sense because one of the biggest shows of the year. Mercedes is somebody that is internationally known. She wrestles. She has she holds the strong title, which is the Japanese title. And then Athena obviously she made a big splash wrestling at the Tokyo Dome this year, way back at Wrestle Dynasty. So, Forbidden Door is something that they could do if they decide to tell it there. I would prefer it all at All In. Perhaps they do maybe they do a rematch at Forbidden Door. We shall see. But that's fair. And he says, plus they are still pushing Megan Bate on TV, and she'd easily defeat Mercedes for the TBS title. And AEW can still have Mercedes go out and beat Toni Storm for the world title. Yeah, I mean, the possibilities are, we're finally in a part with the women's division where always cautiously optimistic, but they're in a place where they have not been with the women's division that we have been waiting on for 6 years. Yes, there's a lot of improvements they can be making, but for what it has finally come to now, we are in a place where they are ridiculously talented with women. And it is hard because you have Chris Statlander and maybe Willow, who are kind of not pushed to the side, but they're not in this title picture right now because it is so stacked. And then you have Deanna, who's not even being used. You have Taya, who's being used in ROH, and now both of them are about to be used. But then you have Queen Aminata. Then you have Yuka Sakazaki is not being used. Riho is not being used. Sheeta is not being used, which is insane. You have Nyla Rose, who your second women's champion, not using her. Yeah. So there's so many. We talked about Ty Mello, whether she has just decided she likes being a mother more. You have, so they have all of these women that you have to figure out. And I feel like, of course, people are going to get left out, and it sucks. But we're in a place now with AEW's women's division where we can start fleshing things out, and we can have all these different possibilities. And it's not just going to be like the men's tag team division where the title stays on one team for entirely too long, or the SmackDown tag team division where it gets hot potatoed around between the same three teams. So it is definitely a thing. And yes, Mercedes does have the British women's title. She retained it over Kanji last weekend. I heard that it was, we had people in the chat telling us it was a 5-star match, that Mercedes and Kanji were incredible. I believe Mercedes tweeted later, and she put Kanji over after the match. And the title, she's Rev Pro's undisputed British Women's Champion, which is why it's 2 titles, because I read about it a few months ago. Rev Pro took over, kind of absorbed another company, and so they left that woman's title. So the British Women's Undisputed Champion has 2 titles, which is why Mercedes has 4 titles, which is a lot to remember.
That's a lot of titles.
Yes. So then you have Mercedes also likely going into Forbidden Door, maybe with 4 titles, maybe with 5 titles, maybe.
They usually do a Rev Pro show around Forbidden Door, so
they
maybe
do.
she'll be on that.
Yes. Agreed that Mercedes is one of the best in the world, regardless of gender. Would you say this is the strongest the AEW's division has been in a while? Oh, 100%. Absolutely. The talent is incredible. Again, there are my qualms and issues with them. Still in year 6 in 2025, we have not had women main event a pay-per-view, and that is a glaring problem that they need to fix, when even ROH has had Athena main event 3 times. TNA has had women main event multiple times. New Japan Strong has had women main event. That's not something they do because the women's division did not exist in New Japan. And it doesn't it does, but not in the same way that other wrestling does. But the point is, there's no reason AEW should not have women main eventing their pay-per-views in the year of our Lord 2025. There's no excuse for it.
It's a quarter of the way into the century, humans.
Yeah. But regardless, even though they do have their flaws and there's a lot of things that they can improve on, talent-wise, I would absolutely say it's
the women's division is so great, right? They're stupid. They have a stupid amount of talent. really in their whole roster, but in their women's division right now, they're kicking, like they're hitting on all cylinders right now.
Mm-hmm.
Where, I mean, I love the Joe versus Moxley thing right now, and I do kind of want to see that play out. Now I know that's probably not what's going to happen and all that, but I can dream. Just, I'm really enjoying
that would make Joe have 2 titles, but you know,
I'm enjoying what Joe's doing right now. I think Joe's a good foil to Moxley. I think I'm enjoying what he's doing. I think they're on a little bit of a roll right now. I feel like the Dynamites and Collisions have been better.
Yes.
I mean, Collision's always been good, but I think the Dynamites are picking up again.
Yes, finally. Yeah, Collision has been, I think Collision gets underrated. And I know I get it. It's on a Saturday night. I'll watch it live because I do live coverage.
We're all busy.
But even if I wasn't watching it live, it is a show that I would make sure that I did not miss. Because the wrestling is...
Oh, I watch it first thing
story,
Sunday.
There's clearly story there. But like you had Kenny Omega show up last night.
Yeah, the presentation is really good too.
Kenny Omega on Collision. Why shouldn't he be on Collision?
Right? We talk about this all the time though. Everyone's like, they don't do anything cool on Collision, and they do something cool on Collision, and you're like, why do they do it on Collision? Like,
exactly.
You're never happy.
You got Mercedes and Athena's first showdown was on Collision, and people were big mad. But then
is so stupid.
Some of the people who were big mad, it's because they stream Dynamite, not Collision, and they didn't get paid for it. And that's what they was.
Screw you. And
then some people just want to be mad.
Well, yeah. Check out wrestling social sometime. Haters gonna hate.
Right. Yes, I would love to see Nyla again too. I love her. 5-belt Monet. I'm not mad at. I would not be mad at a 5-belt Monet. I think she's at a.
I don't think we just like. There's no disagreement here. It's just it's nice to have the possibilities. I like not knowing. Why shouldn't we like? That's the best.
If anybody is going to hold 5 belts, I don't think there's anybody better than Mercedes.
Well, they sure paid her enough for her to be holding 5 belts, so they better. I mean, right. We don't know for sure, but let's be real.
Yeah, she's the highest paid women's wrestler currently.
Making
I say currently, but now Becky Lynch is back, and it's possible that Becky has surpassed her. But it's also because Mercedes made it happen.
And and then I hate to say this, but I might have to revise my opinion on Mariah May because it might be the end, folks.
Mercedes, I don't.
I hope you're right and I'm wrong.
Okay. First of all, Mariah's still under contract. It's not
so it doesn't
anywhere.
even matter.
So that's called contract tampering, and they've done it. Swerve has told us.
Everyone does it.
But Swerve, they blatantly did it with Swerve.
I know.
Swerve
they don't care.
Too, so it's contract tampering. First of all, she's under contract, at least from what I've heard, at least into the summer. Is it through the summer? We don't know. It's at least to summertime. She's under contract.
Okay, good.
And as soon as the report came out, they said her contract is up in the summer. Tony Khan is working on keeping her.
Okay.
So that was out of the gate.
I hope
it came up again. This report that has come from somewhere claiming they're going to offer her a bunch of money. They should be offering her a lot of money, and any smart wrestler leverages that.
Correct.
They take that and say, hey, even though this is contract tampering, WWE is rumored to offer me this amount of money. What are you going to counter that with?
People out in the wild looking to find better jobs do that sort of stuff. I mean,
Randy Orton did that. That man was never, ever going to leave WWE. He does not know how to wrestle outside of the WWE system. He came up through OVW. He's a 3rd generation WWE wrestler. That man was not leaving. However,
but he was getting paid.
His contract was coming up. He put feelers out to AEW. Took that information and went back to WWE and then signed a long-term contract with him. That's what any smart wrestler should be doing. That is the point of having 2 profitable companies, is that wrestlers get paid what they're worth. So I think, and Mariah May is not stupid. Clearly not. I think she's coming back. I think she is being smart. She is trolling the fans because she has been, the entire time she's been off TV, she has been tweeting pictures of the AEW championship, pictures with her and with Mina. She was with Mina at WrestleCon. She posted pictures of it. Then Friday, when she did the thing where she posted, because she, from the Hollywood ending, remember, she came out with a wedding veil on, holding, and she hid a taser in her bouquet. Her tweet was, it came out after the reports of WWE offering a lot of money, and her caption was married to the game. She knew what she was doing. She was fucking with the fans by
I'm
referencing
so
Triple
glad
H's
to hear
nickname.
you. I mean, I'm glad to hear you say
absolutely think that she is playing
Good.
everybody.
Good.
If she
I am
goes,
glad to hear you say that.
If she goes to WWE, she goes to WWE.
Of course.
I have, of
We've
course,
talked about this a million times.
we
It's
talked
like,
about the reason, you know, if she does no more kissing other women,
oh,
she's got to change her. She's got to change her style a lot. There's a lot left open for her to do in AEW. She's had one huge feud. I mean, yes, she wrestled other people for the title when she was champion, but she's had one big feud. That feud was created specifically for her to come to AEW, to leave Stardom to come to AEW.
Yeah,
and in Stardom, she was one of their top wrestlers. She was with her, and Mina were rose gold. Mina is on her way to AEW. She has had her final Stardom match. Of course, Mariah could absolutely go to WWE, but I don't think it's a done deal. People buy way too much into rumors.
I don't think it's
and y'all should know, and people should know better by now. Wrestlers lie. They do all kinds of
Oh my God, this
things.
whole business is a bunch of like
right.
liars and like they really, honestly, it's like there's something I was talking to, like, Bob and I were talking about this, literally. We were like, it says something about Tony Khan and Cody Rhodes that the story of their breakup has never gotten out in this business, considering that every goddamn thing gets out.
Yeah.
Like the amounts of things that have happened over the last few years that I have heard from somebody is, and it's been accurate, is madness. Like, these people love to run their mouths.
Yes. And I think it's the story
So,
we're coming off of WrestleMania week. And that rumor was happening around, was happening post WrestleMania. It's people running. She is under contract with AEW for at least the foreseeable future. She can't do anything for at least a couple more months. The Stephanie Vaquer did an interview and said WWE would not pay her what she wanted, said go have fun in AEW, and then turn around and used her wanting to be growing up a WWE fan. Yes, Mariah also grew up a WWE fan. 99% of wrestlers.
I was gonna say, like, most of us and anybody in the West, that's pretty much our wrestling.
Until 6 years ago, your options were TNA, WWE, and the Indies. Maybe going to Japan, depending on your path.
Yeah, but most of us that grew up in the West saw WWE. We didn't, I mean, it's hit or miss if you got New Japan anywhere, or if you had like the internet connection until recent decades where you had the internet connection to actually have a subscription to a foreign television service.
Right.
I mean, usually it's like you're watching New Japan at like 2 a.m. in somebody's like living room because they're showing it on a random channel on like one of the channels you don't understand any of the language on. So
and so on the one hand, you have lots of options now because you have Japan and Stardom, and you've got CMLL, you have all of this. But then on the other hand, when it comes to major companies in America, you really have two choices that can give you TV exposure, technically now streaming exposure, and pay you.
Although I guess everyone had a meltdown.
The TKO is kind of changing the way they're paying people because they don't pay their UFC fighters.
Oh, they do. This is like,
and they're trying to change. Endeavor doesn't pay their UFC fighters a lot, and they are trying to keep. They don't want WWE to do that, and
that's why they had a lawsuit against them because that was an antitrust lawsuit.
They lowballed Stephanie. As all that I heard from that story was they lowballed her, played on her emotions, and yes, they could absolutely do the same thing to Mariah. But I'm hoping she is smart enough and heard that story and be like, they don't want to offer somebody like Stephanie Vaquer what she's worth. I am a former women's champion in AEW. I had this huge story. I bring the start, and that's not to say that Stephanie didn't bring her own accolades, because she did. Stephanie is incredible. And she deserves to get paid as well.
Yeah.
But Jordynne Grace has also, even though she's getting paid well, there was the story a couple weeks ago about how she has taken a bit of a pay cut compared to what she was making with TNA and outside things like she's talked about it. Her OnlyFans was paying for Terminus. When Jonathan Gresham did the 4 Terminus shows, Jordynne Grace's OnlyFans, she was making enough just from her OnlyFans to fund those shows and to pay those people. Wow. So apparently she's not hurting for money. Her deal is a bit different. She's obviously worked things out in a way that works for her. So when they say they're offering her a bunch of money, I don't know how much of that to believe, because we saw them just lowball Stephanie Becker last year. Is somebody like Mariah gonna? And then if you have Becky Lynch, who is commanding Becky Lynch money as she should, along with Charlotte Flair, and then Mercedes is doing the same in AEW, like these top women who have been here for years, they're making this certain amount. Is WWE going to offer Mariah? Not that they're not offering. I don't think they're offering Mariah May, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch.
Oh gosh, no, I don't think that's.
But
true.
I would assume more than Stephanie.
Probably.
But I don't know. Is that more than AEW?
But that doesn't mean they won't cut her in a month or something,
right?
Either.
I mean, so I think it's just people are talking. I think it's just rumors. Again, Mariah absolutely could go to WWE. Nothing would surprise me, but that's what we want. We want a healthy wrestling business where people can go. We want people to get paid. Of course, as the fan aspect, do I want to see her in WWE? No. I think there's I know there's lots of factors, including Paula Vick. Multiple lawsuits against that company.
Yeah, right.
McMahon. Like there's those things, but also I understand as a wrestler, you've got 2 options in the US. And sometimes you have to look past certain things. I'm not going to, who knows what goes into their process. Do they allow her to, because AEW has allowed Mariah to go home to the UK. She took some time off last year and went home for a week. And she tweeted about it later that AEW graciously gave her time off to go home and do some stuff. Will WWE do that? Maybe. Yeah. Is that something she's looking for? Like when she's picking a place to stay? Like, is it, I assume it's not just, for most wrestlers, it probably isn't just money. It's probably other factors into it too. So maybe Mariah does take less money to go to WWE and she gets to live out her childhood dream. That's certainly possible. That's what Stephanie Becker has basically said she's doing. But also I go back to the Hangman quote that I mentioned last week. Hangman said his dream used to be a WrestleMania moment because AEW exists now, and that is no longer his dream. He has his dream. So Mariah could very well, maybe 3 years ago she did want to go to WrestleMania, but now that's changed. Tony Storm is all. I mean, Lord, Mariah May is only 20, 30, 25. Maybe she's 25. She could sign a 5-year deal with WWE and come back to AEW. Maybe it would be harder for her to leave in 5 years. We don't know what that company is going to look like in 5 years and what they're. I mean, we don't know what AEW is going to look like in 5 years, but we don't know with the way lawsuits are going, how they're having TKO kind of moving towards the UFC side
WrestleMania
of
didn't make it into the top 10 and only did like 5 figures. Didn't make it into the top 10 of viewing for the weekend. Not good.
Yeah, so there are a lot of factors that come to play. Regardless, I want her to go where she is.
Yeah, of course.
And again, that was my thing with Motor City.
That was everyone. We tend to do 26.
I wanted Motor City to go to AEW because that's the promotion that I enjoy. For selfish reasons, that even if they were to split them up as a tag team and do singles wrestling, there are more matches I'd like to see them against certain singles wrestlers than I do in WWE. But I'm a fan of Motor City, and I just want them to be happy, and I want them to go to where they're happy, and if Mariah will be, and I really like Mariah a lot, if she will be happier in the WWE, then I want her to choose what's best for her. But I think that people were just getting I think they were just getting worked up on the internet because that's what
Working
they do.
themselves
And
into
then
a
I saw the comment. These 4 U's always show me the most wildest comments that Jade and Mariah did not deserve their pushes because they were going to WWE.
Go away.
First of all, that's not how it works. Secondly, Mariah has not made a decision yet. Mariah's still under contract with AEW, and even if she leaves, that doesn't mean that because they said Chris and Willow should have gotten those spots. Chris has been, both women have been TBS champions. Willow has been a champion in CMLL. She stepped up when Stephanie Vaquer kind of screwed them up a little bit and went to WWE, left them scrambling, and they put the title on Willow because she is that trustworthy. Willow has gotten, she is in a spot where she's in a big story with the Death Riders right now. Chris was just in the Owen. Maybe it didn't turn out exactly like you wanted it, but both women, it's not like they're sitting and catering.
No.
Like they're on TV, they're active in storylines, they're getting title opportunities. Both women gave Mercedes some of her best matches in AEW. Willow and Mercedes had an incredible match. And then Chris and Mercedes, both 1 and 2, were that was because, Mercedes, when she was first in the company, she was for whatever reason, she was having a hard time connecting with the AEW fan base. The matches weren't quite hitting the way that they were in other places. She was having these incredible 5-star matches in other companies, not really in AEW. But her match with Willow was really good. And then her matches with Chris were some of the best matches she's had. And so to say that they didn't, and I know fans, and that fan could have just been saying that because, they want engagement on the internet. Maybe it's not something they really believe, but I just feel like that's such a dumb argument because, and that to say that Mariah didn't deserve that because she's rumored to be going somewhere else is insane.
Well, that's just silly. It's kind of nonsense.
The story is literally
every booker would have to be a mind reader then.
Yeah, exactly. And then Nikki said
simply not possible. That's like saying that you shouldn't have given a Super Bowl ring to a guy that was on a Super Bowl winning team because he got traded in the offseason.
Do you know how many people get traded in the offseason after they win a World Series?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Do you know how many
people go get paid after they win a World Series or are in a World Series game? Go get paid with another team?
Right.
Same thing happens with the NFL, coaches, players. Yeah.
Right. And like Nikki says, does that mean that all WWE wrestlers that came to AEW don't deserve everything they got? That doesn't make any sense.
No, it's not. That's nonsense. It
is nonsense. And that's why I just like,
I continue to say that mental gymnastics definitely needs to be an Olympic
sport.
I
know that's the tribalism in people.
Seriously. I'm not kidding.
Again, maybe that's not their real feelings and just engagement baiting, which,
America sucks at so
many
things.
I didn't engage with them here, but I clearly are there, but I did engage with them here.
Of course.
In a way. But yeah,
but you didn't name them or anything, so it's not like
I don't even remember what their name was. It was under the 4U. Clearly, it was nobody I follow.
It's literally rando on the internet number 8051. It's just come on.
Fernando Sasamo's Tony versus Mariah was the best story ever in AEW. Yeah,
it's a great story.
Absolutely one of the best stories they've ever told, and they couldn't have done it without. Clearly we needed this version of Time with Tony, and this is not to take anything away from her, but they needed somebody who could meet Tony where she was at and to elevate, and Mariah was perfect for that. That story was created for both of them.
Yeah.
Tony Khan came up with that story and presented it to Mariah when she was in Stardom and said, if you come here, this is what I will offer you. I will give you this giant storyline with Tony freaking Storm, and then you will eventually you'll chase the title for a while, you will be the champion for a bit, and then we'll move on to the next, we'll figure it out. They delivered on that, and it ended up being even better than we could have possibly imagined, and I'm sure it was better than even Tony Khan can imagine. And RJ City deserves so much credit for his part in that story.
Yeah.
And then so you can't have that story. You have to have both women to make this story work. You can't just, Tony is incredible, but you have to have Mariah in the position that she was in to do that. And then yes, tribalism is stupid.
Correct.
and it is juvenile
No
nonsense.
lies
And I
detected.
get like parts of us in the AEW, I think, are protective because a lot of us were there from the beginning. I was at All In. I saw it unfold in front of my eyes. So AEW definitely means something a bit different to me than WWE does. But also, AEW is in the beginning, if you go to maybe the first 2 or 3 years of what AEW was doing, it got away from that for a while, and it got more WWE-esque because they were bringing in former, not just wrestlers, but people in the back who were like, no, WWE wrestling is on TV is only one way. And so they got to they were listening to certain people, and now they've kind of, circled back and are, finding this balance of being more like they were in the beginning and also like trying to make it work with TV. And so they're going through growing pains. So yes, maybe I am a bit more protective about them, but not to a point where I'm going to be a tribalist about it.
All right, you're going to call them out when they're.
We clearly do.
We obviously tell you when AEW sucks more than like most AEW fans. I'm not going to defend something that's truly crap.
Yeah.
If it's failing, it's failing. If it's not doing its job, it isn't. I don't care. This is not a team thing. It's not a like Titans. Everyone makes things way more serious than they need to be right now. This is wrestling. It's not real life. It's supposed to be fun. There's enough crap in life right now that we have to take sides on, that we don't need to make artificial tribal crap.
And that's not to say that these companies can't be criticized just because wrestling is supposed to be fun. They should absolutely be criticized.
But I criticize the NFL regularly, even though I watch the NFL. It's I'm grossed out by a lot of their practices and the things that they do. And Colin Kaepernick was 100% right. So
exactly.
And that's just
and as Curry Head says, you have a bunch of Connies and con artists in this business. Yes, you do. And
Carney's gonna Carney, as Sam and I like to say.
Yes. Jermaine says, I can't wait for NJPW Resurgence. Yes, because that's, what is that, May 11th? Is that show?
Oh, that's a Sunday,
Because
Mother's Day. That's Mother's Day.
Is it? Okay, well, maybe it's...
The reason I know that is because it's my sister's birthday, and every so many years it always falls on Mother's Day. And now that she's actually a mom too, it's like, I'm not going to do that crap where I send you one card for both. I'll actually send you two separate cards.
I have a friend who was born on Christmas, and we always send her a Christmas card.
Same idea. I always felt bad for her as a kid because it was like, we had the kind of parents where it kind of got overshadowed. So it's like, now I'm like, I've always really, but now that she's a mom, I especially am like, okay, separate cards. Gotta send her separate cards.
Yeah, so I can't research it. Or is it May 9th? It's coming up. It's soon.
May 11th is a Sunday. It's got to be right around that time.
Oh, so it'd be, it's usually a Friday. So it is probably Friday the 9th.
Okay, so Friday the 9th.
But yes, we are, he said probably going to get we're probably going to get a match of the year best triple threat match as far as women go with Mercedes, Mina, and Azumi for the strong title. Yeah, that's nice. That should be an incredible match. It's going to be a really good one. And Jermaine says, and can New Japan Resurgence be the pay-per-view that Mercedes lost her first title? I don't think so. It's possible. It's certainly possible. I don't think so because of Forbidden Door. I think they're going to want to try to keep her. But maybe we start seeing that there's some chinks in the armor, and maybe we can see that she is beatable. Somebody could have her number. Maybe she loses her New Japan. I mean, she could always lose her strong title first. Like, what if out of those titles, what if that's the title she loses first? But
I mean, Azumi could pin her and the ref could be out or something, and because they love ref bumps in those matches. So
yes. So yeah. I Make Beat says, I watched 3 promotions, 4 with NXT, and I like them all for different reasons. I like to have a lot of flavors. Absolutely. I get it. 100%.
Exactly. That's why I like watching different stuff too.
Fernando says, is Ruby coming back soon? Her husband's been back for a little while now. I'm not sure. And I think I had said that she had the baby in December. I think what I was thinking of, I believe she actually had the baby in October. I think Ange came back Ange came back. They let him spend the holidays with I think he was cleared to come back in December, but they let him have, they extended his paternity leave, I think, so that he could be home during the holidays, I think is what it was. And I think that's where I was getting confused. But I believe it was actually October that she had the baby. Depends on how women's bodies heal. It takes a long time. I know we've seen women wrestlers hop back into wrestling really soon after having children, because they felt like they were going to lose their spots or whatever. But we luckily we have a company like AEW who doesn't seem to be rushing people back. They didn't rush Ty back after having her kid. So I haven't heard any updates on Ruby as far as like, I don't even know if she's even thinking about training yet. I don't know if that's just something if she is and they're just not talking about it, or if she's just taking time to be a mom. So I'm really not sure I haven't heard anything about her recently. I make meat says, yes, it's a good mix of styles and presentation that keeps me interested. Mackenzie says, hey, hello, nice meeting y'all. Mariah May versus Liv Morgan will be an interesting storyline if she comes to WWE. That certainly would be an interesting storyline for sure. And thank you welcome to Power Bombshells, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Is Jack Perry injured? I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Jack Perry.
I don't know. I have not heard anything.
Thought he was coming back with. Perhaps he comes back at Double or Nothing if they do Anarchy in the Arena, which I think that they will. Maybe that's where they're holding Jack as like this kind of not a wild card, but like holding him kind of in their back. Like,
I'm not sure what the deal is.
Like, we have this team, we need him. But it was funny because a couple of days ago, he popped up on my Instagram because I don't usually see his posts. And at first, because he keeps like when he wrestles, he creates different things. Like when he came back to New Japan, he created that scepter that he came out with. And he apparently is very DIY and hands-on and things. So I thought that he was creating something I thought he was getting ready to come back because he had these 3 pine cones, and then he puts it in resin. And then he has so basically he ended up turning the 3 pine cones into handles for knives. And they were the knives were the blades were this long, and he's showing how well they can chop. So he's just doing DIY projects, doing cool shit. I mean, maybe he does. Maybe
he's upcycling his pine cone handles.
Yes, maybe the knife will come into, maybe when he comes back, this will be part of his gear, and they'll be like, oh, there's the pine cone knives that Jack Perry made back in April. So
He's literally out whittling in the forest.
As far as yes, he is literally whittling. Not twisting is not whittling his thumbs, but
no, he's whittling away the time.
But so I can't. As far as I know, he's not injured. I do think that I would assume he's coming back to be part of Anarchy in the Arena. I feel like maybe, but then we did have the thing where back in January when we last saw him at the New Japan show, he was pissed at the Young Bucks. He talked to them backstage and was like, you abandoned me. You left me. I lost my title. I got tied to the front of my own bus. Mm-hmm. You weren't there. Where were you? Which is why I thought Jack Perry was going to the Death Riders. Obviously, it could still happen. And so, but then we didn't see him for a while.
Maybe he's secretly climbing Mount Everest too.
Maybe so.
Maybe he went with Darby and he just didn't want any of us to know it.
So I feel like we see him, especially now that not that he has to come back because Anna is back, but now that she's back, perhaps that is signaling that he will be back soon too.
Maybe Tony's still mad at him for making him break up with his boyfriend.
I don't think that's it because they've used him they've used Jack in big spots since then. I don't think that's it. I think Jack is I don't know if maybe they're just giving Jack time off. Maybe he did have an injury and that we didn't know about and has been, recovering from an injury and
well, I mean, he did lose. I mean, in fairness, he did lose his dad young, and he came into this and was really a big star. Maybe just need some time off.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, maybe because he was going hard, and he was in New Japan for a little while.
He trying, and grief is hard, and you never know when it's it can catch up to you if you didn't necessarily. I mean, I'm just I'm both totally speculating.
Oh yeah, there's always
there's all kinds of ways that could.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have a totally reasonable personal excuse to be away from this thing now.
Right. Maybe and we did, like you said, he was in New Japan for a few months. When he wasn't on AEW television, he was, doing stuff in Japan and was in House of Torture. So maybe he was just like, I need a break. or who knows? Maybe,
Even
or
he
maybe,
didn't like it, so he didn't.
maybe creative actually did have nothing for him. I don't know. Maybe they're gonna move him. It'll be interesting when he comes back if he's still gonna be aligning with the elite. They did abandon him. They did leave him. Are we going to see a new version of Jack Perry that kind of stands on his own? Because Luchasaurus is not there anymore. Kip is with the patriarchy, perhaps. And I don't think he's, does he go back to being a baby face? Because the heel turn kind of worked and kind of didn't. So maybe there you go. He attacked Omega. He has to answer. Very true. So maybe that's what they bring him back for. I hopefully we see him soon, but I have not heard of him being injured, but who knows? And I really thought, I do wonder if they will revisit, well, like you said, revisit attacking Omega, and also revisit the fact that the Young Bucks, abandoned him. Yes, he did do the gross meat segment. Yeah, so Jack, it'll be interesting. I will say that I would not be surprised to see him involved in Anarchy in the Arena. That would be a way to bring him back. But we'll see where that goes. And then, Dynamite has been on a roll, and I guess they were in so much of a roll that Master P made his AEW debut.
That's very interesting.
On Wednesday in New Orleans. And when I found out that he was going to be there, the first person I thought of was Cody Rhodes. I was like, Master P is finally coming to AEW, and Cody is not there, because Cody famously on BTE was doing the Make Him Say and he had the Make Him Say shirt that was very popular. It had Brandy and Pharaoh on it. It was very much a throwback to 90s, early 2000s hip hop, and what the shirt looked like. He has a similar one that he just released a few weeks ago that's very similar to it, and it just made me laugh. And I was like, damn, Cody lost the world title and Master P's on AEW. It's a cold world. Poor Cody.
What a terrible, it really is the worst timeline.
It is. I was like, poor old Cody. I was like, he isn't going to be here to make him say with him. But I thought I had forgot. Like, I knew Master P owned House of Glory Wrestling, and then I just kind of forgot. And I was like, oh yeah, that is right. I did know that he owns that.
You never should have got that tattoo, Nikki. That's why.
Mercedes has wrestled for them recently. She wrestled Indy Hartwell there. Private Party has wrestled for them. That was their home promotion for a while. See, he does have the connections. And then obviously being in New Orleans, that's where he's from. He has his program down there. And then it was just, the segment was, I enjoyed the segment very much. And I'm so glad that Ian Riccaboni was on commentary for this moment.
Me too.
Because Ian,
he could appreciate it.
He is so good with pop culture references, he and Caprice both, and I'm so glad that, not that Tony Schiavone doesn't know who he is, because Master P was on WCW programming back in the day.
Even better.
It made me think of, because that's when they were doing the Filthy Animal stuff, and when Rey Mysterio was unmasked at the time, and it was him and Billy Kidman and Conan, and they were doing and Rey Mysterio was always doing the hootie hoo call. And so I was like, it was fun having him involved. I really enjoyed it. And then having him present the ops was great. It was perfect to have him represent. And then Samoa Joe comes out there. Then we get the Death Riders involved, and he commanded Samoa Joe basically to drop Mox, and it was just, I loved it. I thought it was so much fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. They've been really hitting. I mean, I liked it, especially as a follow-up to Beach Break with Spring Break,
yeah.
Where it was like, this is the longest running show now, and we broke that WCW record, and they kind of followed it up with something like this, which was really fun without being too overkill. And it's keeping, I'm actually genuinely, I hope they keep this up, because I'm genuinely excited to see the show in a couple of weeks, whereas maybe 7 or 8 months ago, I wouldn't have been as hype about it. So it's because they're doing well.
I mean, Pete said it felt like a play on the WrestleMania.
A little bit.
Travis Scott was involved in in WrestleMania, and we all thought something
In the
more was
worst
coming, and then
possible
it
way.
didn't. Yeah, with the Master P punches, yes, it was a little bit. Yeah, maybe.
Here's how you do this properly. Anyway.
Yeah. Bless Master P. He tried.
Hey, you know. He tried. He sold them as
Nikki
well as he
said
could.
Cody was definitely those Cody cry memes. Yeah, I had people, because I made the joke on Blue Sky, and I had people responding to me with those memes of Cody crying, like in AEW and WWE. Was great. Nikki said maybe TK was like, I gotta put Ian on here for this because Ian is great at the. He is perfect for that stuff, and he tweeted a picture. Nikki saw it before I did, but then I saw it under the Powerbombshells Blue Sky. Ian posted a picture with Master P and was talking about how he was about it, and said hootie hoo, which is obviously references to Master P back in the day. It was Ian's perfect for that, and I know that Ian ate it up. I know he was loving it. Yes, more Ian, please. I know he's a busy family man, and I love him for putting his family and his day. Like, this man has, he's got, this is just like fun for him. Like, obviously he gets paid for it, but like, he has a day job. He just completed his master's degree. He's on the board of the town that he lives in, and then he happens to be an incredibly good wrestling announcer. Maybe we will get to a point where he calls wrestling more often, but that's one of my favorite things about ROH is listening to him and Caprice, because they are so much fun. And they and Ian makes a lot of references because we're in the same age range. So, and he makes references that I can enjoy. The rap is crap thought about Kurt Hennig was inspired by Master P. Yes, it was.
Wow.
That is, yes,
wow.
Master P being involved in that WCW storyline led to the rap is crap, though.
That's amazing. That's some throwback.
It is. He said, I make beats for the Shane McMahon School.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Nikki was saying, I thought I always say, yes, the Linda McMahon School of Acting.
Yikes.
Yes, that rap is crap storyline. Oh, man, and that song that they did. Listen, WCW had some really bad stuff, but good Lord, they had some really fun stuff. I really loved a lot of that stuff. So I enjoyed Master P. I thought it was fun. I don't think he overstayed his welcome. I don't think he went too far with things. Like, I think it was the perfect way to bring him in and then get him out of there. And they opened the show with him because apparently right before it came out, right before Dynamite aired, Sean Ross Sapp tweeted a GIF of the band Sum 41 from the Fat Lip video. Andrew Zarian quote tweeted it and said, new theme song for Dynamite, and he put a little smiley or a face with sunglasses. I was like, are we getting Fat Lip as the Dynamite theme song? Because I will lose my mind. Well, then show cuts and it goes straight into Master P coming out. And I was like, did they just not show it on Max? And then Sean Ross Sapp tweeted and said next week. So apparently a new theme song is coming for Dynamite. And it may or may not be Fat Lip, or may not be Sum 41. So
yes, we'll find out.
We will tune in and find out. And then we also, on that same show, we had the return of one Stokely Hathaway, which I was really excited for. I was like, hell yeah, Stoke. And then I saw what he was doing, and I was like, I hate it.
I was like, oh, this is going to make Sam happy.
So Stokely Hathaway is the manager for FTR, because FTR is the heel, and I guess they wanted to put Stoke with it. Then they made and then it came out that, like, so I remember this happening. I saw a clip, somebody posted the clip from last year. Stoke was trying to recruit Private Party to let him manage them, and Private Party said no. But when he was recruiting them, we saw a video of Stokely watching a DVD that had the ROH match, the ROH trilogy from the Briscoes and FTR. So apparently that was kind of, from something I read the other day, apparently they've thought about putting FTR and Stoke together for a while, but it just didn't work out because they did the rated FTR thing, and so they didn't want to do the heel turn yet. So apparently this is something they planned for a while. and I hate it.
I figured.
I hate it so much. And one of the things that I don't understand is why, if Stokely is your mouthpiece, why are FTR still cutting promos? Why did they both get on the mic when you have Stokely is fantastic on the microphone. Let him be your mouthpiece, especially when you can't cut heel promos. Those promos were awful, and Dax talks way too much.
Well, why have Stoke at all? That would be the entire point if you're going to do that. Like, give him the mic. He's the heel. Let him do his thing and shush. Right.
That's what he did for the baddies.
Especially Cash.
Yeah, Cash is not good on the mic. He's not great on the mic, but Dax
it's just getting old. It's played out.
And then Dax talks way too much. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know when to be quiet. And then you bring in the Midnight Express to further the storyline, which good. Like, I have nothing against them, even though they did cost Revolt the titles in PWX. So I do have that a little bit. And then Ricky Morton said, "Oh, so it's my fault?" Literally, yes, sir. You were the reason Revolt lost their tag team titles in PWX. So Nikki and I Rock and Roll Express. I did say Midnight, and which I think the reason I thought that is because my friend calls FTR the Midnight Express.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I was thinking of. Yes, Rock and Roll Express. Thank you for that. And bless Ricky Morton. Still, that's a man who gets it with wrestling as it is today.
Yeah.
He very much puts over modern wrestling. He wrestled in GCW all the time. They did a senior scramble at the spring break, and it was great. And Kerry Morton, which is Ricky's son, he's the perfect little chicken shit heel. He's very good at what he's very good at it, and he got involved. It was fun. But regardless, there's no point, and there was no need to bring Rock and Roll Express into this, except for now. Apparently, their gimmick is Randy Orton's gimmick, except they put an S on it. It's plural now. They are calling themselves the Living Legend Killers.
Good Lord.
And as Nikki said, FTR cannot come up with their own gimmick. Because if you are new here, I will not get into my big long story about why I don't like FTR. But I will, to give you a quick Cliff Notes version, when they first came into AEW, before they appeared, they were trying to steal a gimmick from the aforementioned Revolt that I just mentioned here. They are a tag team from here in North Carolina, which is where they currently live. And they tried to say they didn't know anything about it, which is a lie, and I know it from several people that is not true. And they also ran in the same circles for 15 years, so there's no way they didn't know. But then there's some other things that I have learned from various people who show that is a lie. So obviously Revolt had something to say about it because they were going to come in as the Revolt. They did an interview with Chris Jericho as the Revolt. Then they, one of their promos, the vignettes that they aired, the song they used was a direct ripoff of Revolt's theme music. It was a mess. There was a lawsuit. There was briefly a cease and desist. They ended up dropping it, just going by FTR. So for me, always FTR will always stand for fuck the Revolt, the revival, and I can't. So I already don't like them and have not for. I wasn't a fan of theirs before any of this happened. I just didn't. They just weren't for me. And yes, and I do like 80s wrestling. I do like some of that. They just are not for me. I was hoping when I heard how they were treated in WWE. I hoped in AEW they would be treated differently. Then they pulled that shit, and I was like, I don't care what happens. I can't stand them. And so it just. When they came out with the Living Legend Killers, Nikki immediately said they still can't come up with their own gimmick. They have to take somebody else's. And people were like, well, they used to wrestle with Randy and they're friends with Randy. Okay. They still can't come up with their own gimmick in 2025.
Whatever, dude. They're just not where it's at for me right now. They've had great matches in the past. I've really enjoyed a lot of their matches in the past, but the Living Gimmick Stealers, nice.
And listen, and I will say, like that series with the Briscoes, I can admit those are classic matches. I can admit that those were really good matches. I don't hate them that much, and I can appreciate what they did for the state of North Carolina during Hurricane Helene and the things that they did for the state, and getting in with Adam Copeland, getting Tony to do, getting him involved and getting him to help, and then that eventually turned into the Fight for the Fall show this year. So like I can appreciate those things. I don't hate them I do hate them, but I can appreciate.
She doesn't hate them. Blood feud hate them. She's
like,
just not into them. She's not into them, and she's not into her ethics, and their ethics don't vibe.
No, because I do cover Collision, they frequently, it must be in their contracts that when they main event Collision, they have to be half-hour matches.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that.
That's what we got last night. I mean, I don't remember if it was a half hour, but that match with the Paragon.
It was long.
It was long as hell and should have ended a lot sooner than it did. And they were, and just get off. And
I feel like they need to, I know that they do it for the ads and everything else, but I feel like they overuse the overrun time these days a little too much.
They definitely can.
Especially, and I know for someone like that. That's not a main event that's worth an overrun.
And last night last night they also started at 8:50 because of the basketball game.
Fair enough.
So that did run over. Had it started at 8:00, maybe it wouldn't have gotten the overrun.
You're right.
But they do kind of. But regardless, if they get the overrun or not, FTR almost always has half hour. When I went to Collision this year, got to sit through a half hour main event with them.
Yikes.
Yeah, he says that Jermaine says that I would have put Stokely with Mercedes and made him be her wise man. Man, that would have been fun because we saw what he did with Jade when they did the baddies for like 5 minutes. When he was putting that over, that could actually be really fun. Not that Mercedes can't talk; she finally figured out it took her a bit to fill into it. But man, Stokely with her would be a lot of fun. Fernando says, I'm not a fan of watching elderly legends take bumps the way they did on Dynamite.
Correct.
At least on the one thing I will give them is they don't tend to overdo it. I mean, they were for a little bit there. And then you had the whole thing with Chris Jericho and Jeff
Those
Jarrett.
Those guys are carnies till they die, though.
Well, we had that whole thing. Maria said, every time they show Rock and Roll Express in attendance, they're going to get the beat up. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they're like, hey, can you come in and get beat up, please? I need you. We'll pay you.
They want the paycheck. They don't care.
Yeah.
They're carnies till the end.
Listen, they gotta, and wrestling doesn't generally have a retirement plan, so I know these people gotta get paid.
I get it. That was like my favorite thing about one of my favorite things about Talking Shop and Mania was them setting up the merch tables.
Yes. Mickey said, listen, I hold on to grudges. I will never let my hate for them go with my hate for them.
I get it.
And I can't.
We all have sports.
I mean, I have grudges, but I can confirm that Nikki will hold grudges.
We all have sports hills that we're willing to die on, and I totally understand.
Yeah, that's one of mine.
I get it.
Nikki said, I agree with Samantha, and I also still hate HBK. Yeah, that too. Dax, HBK did make fun of Dax for his depression issues in front of his face.
That's no.
And good. after he confided in him because he thought HBK would understand because HBK went through similar things, and then he turned around and made jokes about it in front of their faces to Triple H.
Screw that.
Which was that's messed up. And
you ableist POS.
Right, exactly. Fernando said Nick Way is going to turn on Christian soon, and we get closer to the Cope and Christian reunion finally. I definitely think it's coming.
I'm glad. Sure. I think it's time. I think Nick Wayne is
ascending. Nick needs to be on his own. I'm kind of hoping that while Nick is in Japan, that this is a way to get Kip. It's a way to get Kip involved more because Kip I think is very underrated. I think that because Kip was doing a lot of cool stuff on when Dark was the thing. He was doing when he was wrestling. For a bit, he was wrestling a bit more. So I'm hoping that maybe Christian kind of puts Kip in his place. Obviously not to be Nick, but because Nick is not there, that Kip kind of maybe will help Kip. I'm hoping this is something that's going to help him, and Kip's not just going to be standing there looking pretty while his wife is helping Megan Bain destroy people. Because Penelope Ford gets to do a little bit more than Kip does. Even though we did have Kip for a bit doing some stuff. So I hope this means more Kip in the meantime. The Mid Express cannot find an original gimmick. No, they cannot. Carnies and Carnotters. Yes. Fernando says the top fight versus Rush not Rush. Rush and Andretti match was so much better than the FTR match. I loved that match. It was a pain in the ass to cover. I was like, Tony, why do you do this to me? He's like, well, listen, I know that you like it. I do, but I don't like covering it because there's a lot going on. But I really enjoyed that match. I think because that feud has been going on so long, it needed that match. And one of the parts of the match that I thought was really fun is they have this bag, Dante, you assume it's tax, and they open it and it's Mardi Gras beads. And Nigel says, you have to take off your shirt for those. And then like some of the beads were flat. They had those things on them that flashed, and so they were lit up in the ring. I thought it was really fun. I was like, I should have seen them. I should have seen those coming. But that also brings Nikki and I always talk about. I mean, obviously people have used Legos, but Revolt wrestled. They did a match with the Bravados, which Harlem is currently Andre Chase in NXT. But back when they were in PWX, they did a match, and instead of it being Legos or tax, it was gummy bears.
Yeah.
And there were gummy bears all over that ring. And so we always, Nikki and I are always like, we know it ain't going to be gummy bears.
Yeah.
But I appreciated the Mardi Gras beads.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I believe we have hit all of our topics.
I think so. Yeah.
We've been here for a while today, so we appreciate it.
We had stuff to wrap up. It's all right. We had a little quick guest.
Yes, and we appreciate Thee Spyder, in case you missed his name, it's Thee Spyder, for him coming to join us today. We appreciate him taking the time to bless us with his presence. We have some new people in the chat today. We appreciate you being in the chat. Even if you are new to us and are not in the chat, we appreciate you too. Also, wait a minute, before we leave, I meant to do this at the beginning of the show and then we got sidetracked. Do you have the pictures or no?
Oh, I do have them. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm wearing my Bad Bitches.
Yeah.
I wore my Bad Bitches for Canadian Destroyers, which
I wore my Hotties for Hendry's show on Keela's show. So
we love that. We do love Joe Hendry, and we're glad we wore that.
So
as a lot of you know, before you guys go away, we do want to pop this up real quick. So for those of you know, we had the opportunity to be a sponsor for Wrestling Wind Down's networking event of women in the wrestling space. They held held that event on Sunday before night 2 of WrestleMania. And they sent us this lovely graphic of all of the sponsors, and it would not have been possible without the super chats that we received over that time period. You got us into the 250 tier, which was incredible, and we are so grateful for that. And that's our lovely little graphic that we got, and our thanks on social media. I heard the event went really well. They had a lot of fun. And so we were really glad to be able to do we had our first sponsorship opportunity, and it was with somebody, it was with
and we got hella cool placement on there. Look at that, guys. We're like second row down. I love it.
Yeah, loved it. And like, we've had Lo on the show before. So not only are we customers of hers, but we've had her on this show to talk with us. And apparently, congratulations to them having a successful event, and also congratulations because they recently just celebrated their 6-year anniversary, which is huge. So congratulations to Lo and Wrestling Wind Down. And I heard they were at WrestleCon, and she posted some pictures, and Megan Bain came by their booth and bought some merch. And
that's so cool.
Willow also came by, and she got some merch as well. And so I thought that was really cool. And she was posting pictures of people who were wearing their Wrestling Wind Down gear to WrestleMania, like or to meet and greets. Like there was somebody who wore the Bad Bitches for Mommy shirt, and she met Rhea Ripley wearing that shirt. And so there are a lot of fans were wearing her shirts, and she got to see them in the wild, which is really cool. So congratulations to her. And again, thank you to everybody who helped make that happen for us. We appreciate it. And even if you were not able to financially donate We appreciate
We appreciate
you
you guys
appreciate
being
too,
here.
but we just wanted to give them a quick shout out because and to let you know that it did happen. Your money did go to did actually go to a sponsorship and for transparency and because we're just really proud of it.
Yeah, it was very exciting to see
Yeah.
our stuff on something for a first time and have it be out there with people. And I think Garrett got to hang out or get to hand out a couple of the little dots
Yeah.
that I sent him, which
That
was
was
great.
so cool.
So it's
Yes, we
a
appreciate
really nice
that.
thing. It was super cool for them. It's super cool
Yeah.
for all of us in this space. And WrestleMania weekend's so busy and fun, and it's a lot.
It was a cool way to be a part of it.
Yeah, it was.
In a way, and supporting women in this space, which you know
Correct.
is something that if you've been here, you know that that's something that we try to do, and we try to elevate other women in this space. And so to be able to do that was really cool. And so we just wanted to, before we let you guys go, I meant to say at the beginning of the show, and then
Yeah, that's okay. We got
went
a little
off,
side.
went on side topics. And so before we get out of here, we just wanted to make sure. But thank you so much for staying
Thank you,
late
guys.
with us, and we thank you. We think you are amazing too. And yes, thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you so much for the kind words. And will Conan keep his job with AAA? Maybe for now, but I don't know. I don't.
He's always got his podcast, so
there you go. Keep it 100.
always. That's what I'm here for.
All right, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Have a good week, everyone.